Preparedness now.
From the 8th to the 17th century, Southern California experienced big earthquakes emanating from the southern section of the San Andreas Fault every 150 years. Now, while we've had some shakers, we have not suffered another big one since 1680.
It's been 330 since the last one. That's the fundamental piece of data. We have got to say that this is a dangerous part of the fault.
And that does not even consider other disasters, natural or otherwise, that could befall the Southland.
We have earthquakes, landslides, flooding, tsunamis, coastal erosion, and wildfires. I still believe that the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach are the most vulnerable entryway into this country.
So given these realities, the City of Los Angeles is looking to partner with community groups of all shapes and sizes to start preparing now in case an emergency strikes. City leaders and community members recently gathered at a conference to promote increased emergency preparedness at the ground level.
It's imperative that members within the community, every individual out there, develop a plan.
Because if Los Angeles is faced with a major disaster,
911 may not be there in the scope of some of the disasters that are possible.
It's up to the communities to provide that first 72 hours of support to save themselves.
If you would like more information about emergency preparedness in Los Angeles, you can sign on to lacity.org/EMD. I'm Brad Pomerantz for LA This Week.
One of the victims of the Chatsworth Metrolink disaster gets the chance to thank in person those who saved his life back on September 12th, 2008. Anna Marcos takes us to the North Hills Fire Station for the emotional reunion.
All hands at Fire Station 87 were on deck to greet the man they pulled from the flames in the Chatsworth Metrolink train crash last September, a crash that killed 25 people. 57-year-old Ray Conklin was one of the lucky ones. He was trapped under the wreckage and suffering from 2 broken legs, but firefighter Vic Villa rescued him.
I got up there and I was probably the first person he talked to, and he looked at me and he said, "The train's on fire, I'm going to die."
This first meeting, a highly emotional one for both Conklin and his saviors.
I'm still here, so I brought some pictures of my family, and I wanted them to know that we're all grateful.
I kind of smiled at him and I said, "Bro, we're the fire department, you know." So, and it was all good from there.
And sitting down to a lunch of corned beef together, sharing pictures, laughter, tears, and hugs can go a long way in healing the scars.
It's very rare that somebody comes back and actually thanks us, and we get to see the outcome of our work. So it's very, it's part of the healing process. As you can see, these guys are really affected by this.
The healing has only just begun for Conklin, who says he's determined to learn to walk.
That's my commitment to my new granddaughter, who I got to see born because of these guys, my first grandchild. And I'm trying to get enough together so I can learn to walk with her. And I will.
It's, I'm just feel honored.
There are no words for a moment like this. Everyone here just glad they will have this and many more moments to share. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Conklin has a wife, 2 kids, and a grandchild. He's also looking forward to his son's upcoming wedding. And acts of selflessness and bravery by public safety officials happen almost every day, but we don't always hear about them. That's why Councilmember Dennis Zine makes sure public safety officials are recognized for their good deeds at his annual Z Awards luncheon. Yana Kay reports.
These 7 public safety personnel represent some of the finest in their field. They go above and beyond what's expected, serving 6 communities in District 3 with dedication and vigilance. They were all honored at the 7th annual Councilman Dennis Zine Z Awards for Excellence.
It sends a message that we, as community members, community leaders, appreciate the hard work that those personnel are doing for us, our families, and our business communities.
One award recipient was LA Fire Department Captain Bob Milhauser. He was appointed to LAFD in 1981 and has served the community ever since. He says he's honored to receive this award and wants the public to know his dedication to the community is unwavering.
Just remember that we are still here for them, and through all these tough times, budgets or whatever, we will continue to be there day in and day out, all night long.
Another award recipient, Detective Clarence Spear, whose career spans over 30 years with LAPD. He now serves with the San Fernando Valley Youth Conference and says this award not only acknowledges his work, but the work of many others.
It's really a privilege for me to be honored, but I only represent many volunteers in one of the largest youth groups in the San Fernando Valley. So for me to be honored, we're really honoring thousands of other people that donate and volunteer their time.
The ceremony was attended by hundreds of people, including Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa and Police Chief William Bratton. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
LA City Controller Laura Chick heads to Sacramento. Highland Park gets a lot greener, and the city's election division wants to be your friend on Facebook. Anita Bennett has these stories and more in City Beat.
City Controller Laura Chick says goodbye to coworkers and friends 2 months early to start a new job as California's Inspector General.
It's the end of 16 years as a city elected official, 8 as city council member and 8 as controller. So it's a big deal.
Chick was appointed to the newly created position by Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Her job will be to oversee distribution of $48 billion in federal stimulus funds. Without this new position, she would have been turned out of office as city controller on July 1st. Highland Park is now home to 118 new trees, all planted as part of the mayor's Million Tree Project. Using shovels and tools provided by Shell Oil, volunteers dug holes and carefully placed each tree into the ground.
As these trees grow in, and it's not going to take very long, the canopies from these trees are going to produce a lot of shade on this sidewalk. It'll make it a lot more comfortable for people to walk, especially in the hot summer months.
Since Mayor Villaraigosa started the Million Tree Project, close to 200,000 trees have been planted across Los Angeles. A clothing drive at City Hall and other government offices to make sure local women have something nice to wear for Mother's Day. The LA Commission on the Status of Women is currently collecting suits and dresses to give to needy women. The clothes will be handed out during a giveaway at the Mar Vista Family Center on Friday, May 8th. And finally, it seems everyone is joining Facebook, including the City of LA's election division. The city clerk's office recently launched this Facebook page to share information with voters about upcoming elections. Facebook is a popular social networking site used by hundreds of millions of people around the globe. With City Beat, I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
If you'd like to friend the election division, search for Office of the Los Angeles City Clerk Election Division on Facebook.com. Although budgets for education continue to get squeezed, the city and the school district are moving forward with projects that will benefit communities in Los Angeles. Brad Pomerantz reports from the site of one such development.
Thanks to the generosity of the voters of Los Angeles, LAUSD maintains the largest construction budget in the nation. And John Marshall High School in Los Feliz is the latest recipient of these construction funds.
The enhancements to the track and field will provide students with a quality athletic field and facilitate the additional programming that is needed at the high school.
Yes, the athletic field at Marshall High is undergoing a renovation that will benefit both students and community alike through voter-passed bonds issued by both the city and LAUSD.
This kind of joint partnership really shows that Marshall is not just part of the community, but the heart of the community.
Not only will it be a safe place for the kids to play, but something the community can be proud of and use too.
And the kids, the students, are looking forward to Marshall's new and improved athletic field.
I think the new field will help us a lot because we really need to stay in shape.
I think it's a great privilege to have a field constructed on our behalf. It may be a little costly, but it's worth it to prove that the facilities here at John Marshall High School are equal to or exceed those of other LAUSD schools.
But one alum from John Marshall's high school class of 1971 may have been the most moved by the project because, as a councilman, he was able to play an active role in bringing this project to fruition.
I hope God doesn't take me today or tomorrow or in a long time. but if he does take me, I completed one task.
And the $7.8 million project, which is slated to take about 6 months to complete, is scheduled to open when Marshall students are returning to campus in September 2009. I'm Brad Pomerantz for LA This Week.
For the first time in the high school's history, John Marshall will have an athletic field that can be classified as a 400-meter regulation track. It's an unusual way to get people interested in classic books by acting them out. Anita Bennett takes us to the Central Library for an acting workshop on Homer's The Iliad.
Come, where's the chain? I pray you let me see it.
Library visitors get a lesson on how to bring classic literature to life.
Just pay attention to when you have a question mark, obviously, to things, if you're asking a question, really pointedly make a question.
The workshop was part of a new series called The Page and Stage. It featured actors from New York's famed Aquila Theater who were in town to perform the Iliad at the Mark Taper Forum.
It's just really interesting to see people that aren't necessarily actors, that come from every walk of life, just sort of jump in and pick up a text that can look a little bit like a foreign language, but within minutes they light up. Heighten your awareness of him over there.
Several attendees said they hope to become actors one day, and they enjoy being coached by pros.
I dare do all that may become a man. Who dare do none more than me?
I was really happy that I was able to get up there and perform and actually get input from the actress and the people who are running the workshop.
For others, it was more about reading a classic story.
It's great. I mean, nothing really beats watching people perform live or learning about literature. I think this is phenomenal. Keep libraries open. I'm all about that. I use a library for all the resources it has to offer.
In this case, it's offering the page and the stage. I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
One guy who loves the library and also happens to know a lot about things to do in our city is our city guy, Andrew Tarr. He's here with this week's list of things to do.
Hi, I'm Andrew Tarr, the city guy, with this week's list of things to do. Every Saturday until July 11th, Storybook Theater at Theater West is bringing to life a world premiere musical version of The Pied Piper, the delightful tale of a flute player who attracts hundreds of rats wherever he goes. Very much like one of my roommates in college, only he didn't just attract rats, but also mice, fire ants, and flying insects of all kinds. And he didn't even play the flute. But he did eat a lot of pie. Anyway, there's plenty of adventure, laughs, songs, and interactive fun in this exciting new show. You and your family will be mesmerized as countless rats scurry around the theater. And in a bizarre twist, the rats will be played by actual children in the audience, some of them weighing over 100 pounds. What could be cuter than a bunch of giant rats scampering all around you as music plays? And as any casting director will tell you, children and rats are remarkably similar in many ways. Theater West is located just off the 101 freeway at Barham. For tickets and information, go to theaterwest.org. Speaking of children, what kind of child were you? Chances are you were extremely difficult to raise. Sure, you had your good moments, but you were also a complete nightmare at times. Let's face it, you're probably the reason your mother has the blues. And that's why this Mother's Day, you'll want to help her relive your childhood by taking her to the John Anson Ford Amphitheater for the 6th Annual Mother's Day Blues and Jazz Concert, Sunday, May 10th from 3 to 8 p.m. Get the details at mothersdayjazz.com. May 13th to the 17th, LA Theater Works presents a sci-fi double bill that will transport you not only to one other world, but two. It's H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, the chilling tale of a Martian invasion, and Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World, a sci-fi adventure that pits a team of scientists against dinosaurs and cavemen. Thankfully, we've known for quite some time now that Martians and cavemen are both completely harmless, but this live performance will still make you a little nervous. Find out more at the LA Theater Works website, latw.org. And if Martians don't freak you out, here's an art exhibit that's sure to. Shock and horror, human oddities and medical marvels at the Todd Browning Gallery at 5th and Spring downtown. Don't miss this jaw-dropping array of original vintage photographs of circus and sideshow performers from the 1870s to the 1950s. This exhibition closes on May 9th, so step right up and see it before it's gone. One note of caution though, the shock and horror exhibit contains images too disturbing for young children or the faint of heart. By Find out more at toddbrowning.com. I'm Andrew Tarr, the City Guy, and I'll be back next week with even more things to do.
Dozens of people recently attended a self-defense workshop put on by Councilmember Tony Cardenas. The workshop highlights the importance of how knowing just a few tips can mean the difference between life and death. Yana Kay has more.
Martial arts experts demonstrate some simple yet effective moves that could save your life. But most of us don't have the skill sets to fight off an attacker. That's why for the last 6 years, Councilmember Tony Cardenas holds the Fight, Fear, Take Control self-defense workshop.
We're trying to teach people how to defend themselves. We're showing them a little bit about martial arts, but we're really trying to focus on more self-defense techniques, the nuts and bolts of protecting yourself. Not just using your hands and feet, but trying to raise an awareness about dangerous situations, trying to avoid those situations.
And some of the ways you can do that is by walking with a friend or maybe getting picked up after work. But if you still find yourself in trouble, Sato says there are common everyday things you can use as weapons.
Like maybe using your keys, maybe some basic holds and basic strikes that they could apply to get them out of the situation.
Sato also says a woman's high stiletto heel can also become a weapon, as well as a heavy bag or purse. Other experts say it's especially important for women to have even a little training.
So what I would recommend to all females is that they should learn some sort of self-defense, really just to build the confidence and know what to do in certain situations.
And for some women, this training has already paid off.
I learned, number one, that I don't pay attention when I'm out in the street. And I will pay attention from now on. And I really think I could get away from whatever problems I had out in the street now because I feel very confident.
And that's all it takes, a few steps that can make all the difference. For LA This Week, I'm Yana Kay.
That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
morning, Los Angeles, and welcome to the City Council meeting for today, Wednesday, the 6th of May, 2009. We're here in the John Ferraro Council Chambers, room 340 of City Hall. We meet here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Sometimes we meet here as late as 12:15, depending on our committees. Like yesterday, for all of you who are viewing our Budget and Finance Committee meetings, that went till 12:15 last night, but that is an issue you can take up with Chairman Parks. We want to thank those members that are still awake and still here. Council members Alarcon, Huizar, Labange, Parks, Perry, Smith, Wesson are here on time. Mr. Cardenas is excused today. Ms. Perry and Mr. Zine are excused to arrive late. So we're still awaiting Ms. Gruhl, Ms. Hahn, Mr. Reyes, and Mr. Rosendahl, and Mr. Weiss. If they will please make their way down as soon as possible. When we have 2 more members, we will have 2/3 or 10 members of our 15-member body, which constitutes a quorum and allows us to begin our business. In the meantime, we want to welcome our viewers on Channel 35, which broadcasts us live through the city's cable system and rebroadcasts each evening. We're also available through the internet at our city's homepage, lacity.org, which has live streaming webcasts of our council meetings, as well as archived footage of our past council meetings, and places to sign up for podcasts, and a wealth of information on our city departments and city services. We also can be listened to through our telephones by calling 213-621-CITY. That's 213-621-CITY, and that is a service called Council Phone, which allows you to listen into not just our full council meetings, but any of our committee meetings as well. Our agendas are made available 72 hours in advance, in person here, or at our city clerk's office, or online, again at lacity.org. Those online agendas have all the supporting material that council members read as well, our reports for each item. All items receive a public hearing, either in committee or in the full council, pursuant to the state's Brown Act. We have items divided into those that have already had the public hearings and those that have not yet had public hearings on the agenda. A card from the public, which you can fill out in the back or in one of our remote facilities in Van Nuys or San Pedro, automatically triggers a public hearing if one has not been held. If there's already been one held, a card will then be an option if anybody from the council wishes to reopen public hearings to hear further public comment. We also have a section of the meeting called General Public Comment, which is for items that are not on the agenda but nevertheless under the jurisdiction of the City of Los Angeles, and that's 2 minutes per speaker, and we have a podium clock to help you guide your time and keep that as even for all people as possible. Thanks again to those council members that are here pursuant to council rules on time. That's council members Alarcon, Huizar, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Wesson. We are awaiting Mr. Weiss. We are awaiting Mr. Rosendahl. We're awaiting Ms. Hahn and Ms. Gruhl. As soon as one more member arrives, we'll be able to start the meeting. Lastly, we have the capability to hear your testimony in our city halls in Van Nuys and in San Pedro. If that is more convenient to where you live, you can always go there, and on any of the items, we will hear your testimony remotely from those locations. So again, as we're waiting, Ms. Gruhl, Ms. Hahn, Mr. Rosendahl, and Mr. Weiss, we will start shortly. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. If we fail to meet a quorum, we do have a quorum right now with Mr. Weiss, so Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruhl, Hahn, Huizar, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, colleagues, if we can direct your attention to matters before us. Our first order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Huizar moves and Mr. Labange seconds. Without objection, those will be approved. Next order.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Reyes moves and Ms. Perry seconds. Without objection, those will be approved as well. If we can run through the regular agenda, please.
On the regular agenda, items noticed for public hearings, items 1 through 5 are confirmations of building and safety liens.
Okay. If there are no specials from the council, let's go ahead. We don't have any cards from the public on 1 through 5, so we'll open and close the public hearing. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the votes.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Next item, item number 6, is also a public hearing item, and I believe there are cards on that.
That's right. We'll call that special. Next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 7 through 16. Item 7 is the Commissioner. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold 7 on the desk.
And that would leave 8 through 16, and there are 2 reports on item number 16.
Okay. On item number 16, we have 2 reports. Do they conflict with one another?
I don't believe so, and I don't know if Mr. Lamonge wanted to call that one special. I believe there's a...
16 special? Okay. 10 for Mr. Labange and 16 for Mr. Reyes and Mr. Labange. Any other specials, colleagues?
Number 10 special for the city clerk.
City clerk can't call them special, so you're calling it special?
Recognition.
All right.
Thanks for you.
No problem. All right. Any other specials, colleagues? If not, let's go ahead and prepare the roll on the ballots and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held. Items 17 through 24. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay. We have cards on 20, 23, and 25. Call those special cards. We're not up to 25 yet, excuse me. 20 and 23. So we'll close the public hearings on the rest. 17 for Mr. Alarcon.
Want to continue
Want to continue?
for 2 weeks to
All right, that
May
will take us 20th?
22nd.
22nd, okay. Without objection, we'll continue that 2 weeks to Friday. Item 17. Any other specials? 17 through 24. Mr. Labange?
Ms. Hahn wanted 28 reconsidered from yesterday.
Okay, we're not quite there yet. We will get to that after. If not, on the balance, let's go ahead and prepare. Are we waiting on the ords?
Yeah, there are ords on items 18 and 19.
Okay, as soon as Ms. Gruhl or Ms. Hahn arrive, we can take up the ordinances. Let's hold 18 and 19 until Ms. Gruhl and Ms. Hahn arrive, if they can please make their way down. It is now 10:15. Let's take up items 21, 22, and 24 then. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, those are approved. It is 10:15, so let's call the roll for the special meeting.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruhl, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 11 members present and a quorum.
Okay, we have one item, and that is, it does have a card from the public, so we'll go ahead and call that special for the card from the public.
Do you wish to take that up while council's in the special meeting?
Yeah, Dr. Clyde Williams, if you'd like to come forward on the special meeting item number 25.
Okay. My name is Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Bear Road, El Sereno. The selling and leasing back of city property, that is the property that belongs to the taxpayers, it's something like what happened yesterday, that net surplus income from DWP is going to be transferred back to the city. This seems to be avoiding the basic element of Prop 13, a two-thirds majority vote. Similarly, selling property and then leasing it back, isn't that a kind of a transfer payment similar to that of DWP? It seems that we're getting rid of all of our assets and selling them off to parking groups, to others. So it seems under the current fiscal crisis, a reasonable path, but it seems on the long term, and that's what we should be considering, especially for assets that will last maybe 50 or 100 years. Why not sell Griffith Park? It's a big place. Why not sell the Autry National Center? Declare it in default and sell it off. So I'm against this particular opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. That will close public comment on 25. If nobody wishes to speak on that from the council, let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved, and we will adjourn the special meeting, return to the regular meeting. If we can take up the ordinances 18 and 19 now. We have 12 members. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, and I'd like to, before our public comment, recognize Mr. Alarcon on Special 1, City Attorney on the findings.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'll recite the facts as presented to me by the maker of the motion for the council's consideration of the adequacy of the findings. Since the posting of today's agenda, the LAPD has notified council of the immediate need to offer a reward for information identifying the suspect or suspects in the February 5th, 2006 murder of an unidentified male at 8622 Langdon Avenue. Immediate action is required for the safety of the community. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 5494.2 before considering the substantive motion.
Thank you. On the findings, if we can please prepare the roll on the urgency clause, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now, pursuant to Rule 23, we have this item before us. I'd like to recognize Mr. Alico, maker of the motion.
Members, I'm coming forward with a reward motion of $50,000 regarding a crime that actually occurred 3 years ago in January, but the detectives at Mission Division have exhausted all leads most recently, and that's why we're bringing this matter forward with an urgency. In this case, we did not know the name of the victim. We are identifying this victim as John Doe number 28. And the reason that we don't know who this victim is because his body was dismembered, including his head, hands, and feet, obviously to try to hide the identity. Detectives are convinced that there is somebody in the community, particularly somebody in the community who knows and has information about who the perpetrator might be or information about the victim. And primarily because the body was found in a very dense area in North Hills on Langdon Street, just, I believe it was south of Parthenia. So with that, I'd like to have Detective, I'm remembering his name, Detective Parshaw from LAPD Mission Division, and we also have a guest from Crime Victims United who would like to speak. Thank you.
My name is Detective Gene Parshaw with Mission Division Homicide. I wanted to thank Councilman Alicon for introducing this reward motion. This body was found back on February 5th, 2006. This case has been particularly difficult to solve since the victim's body was dismembered, basically cut into pieces. The hands, head, and feet are missing, which has made his identification nearly impossible at this time. This case has been going on for 3 years now, and we're hoping that any help from the public in identifying this victim or any information about anyone who knows who the suspects are would help us complete this investigation. Just a brief description about the victim. He was determined to be approximately 5 feet 6 inches tall, medium build, between 25 and 35 years old, and probable Caucasian or Hispanic descent. And like I said, this victim was cut into pieces and left in broad daylight in a busy residential neighborhood, and we're seeking anyone's help in solving this case.
I'd also like to ask Detective Acero to make some comments in Spanish, because this is a heavily Hispanic neighborhood, and we're hoping that somebody might have information but need to be informed in Spanish.
Okay. Yo soy el detective Acero del Departamento de Policía de Los Ángeles, la unidad de homicidios. Tenemos un caso que sucedió en febrero del 2006, en donde se encontró un cuerpo. El cuerpo no estaba completo, los pies, las manos y la cabeza no estaban con el resto del cuerpo. Lo que permanecía del cuerpo también fue cortado en otros pedazos. Hemos estado trabajando este caso por 3 años y necesitamos que la comunidad hispana, precisamente en el área de North Hills, nos ayuden con información para poder determinar la identidad de la víctima. Se determinó que era un hombre hispano, posiblemente blanco. Era aproximadamente una estatura de 5 pies 6 pulgadas, una edad mediana entre 23 a 35 años. Había ciertas características que podrían ayudarnos a identificarlo, pero necesitamos que quien sepa lo que sucedió, quién es esta persona, nos llamen por favor para que nos ayuden a identificarlo. Gracias.
Members, last week we recognized Crime Victims Month, Crime Victims Information Month, and Awareness Month, excuse me. We have a representative of Crime Victims United, Jamie Barnett, who would like to make some comments regarding this case.
Thank you, Councilman, and to all the council.
As a mother who is still grieving over the loss of my own child, being here today makes me feel like I'm able to do something good, something constructive and positive. But it also makes me aware of the difference between my own case and this one. My daughter had a name, Ashley. She had a family, a big loving family that pushed for answers. But no one is pushing every day for answers for John Doe number 28, as this victim is now known. No one is hiring private investigators. No one is even able to visit his grave every Sunday. But today, thanks to Councilman Alarcon and the Los Angeles City Council, John Doe number 28 officially becomes the child of all of us. Somewhere in Los Angeles, someone knows what happened to him. Someone can come forward with that information and make all the difference. I'm here today as a representative of victims of crime, not just my daughters, but many victims of many different types of crime. Some of them are survivors. Many of them are not, like John Doe, and cannot be here to speak for themselves. As a mother of a victim, I know what it feels like to do everything you can to get answers. And as an Angelino, I'm proud to be a part of a city that will do the same. For today, the City of Los Angeles is demonstrating that the fight for victims requires a partnership involving lawmakers, law enforcement, victims advocacy groups such as the one I belong to, Crime Victims United, and the public. Problems that exist in one area are hopefully resolved in another, and answers can come anywhere along the line. I'm grateful to be a part of that partnership, and I'm hopeful that what we are all doing here today will bring answers for John Doe. Thank you.
Members, I want to say thank you to LAPD Detectives Admission Division, but I also especially want to say thank you to Jamie Barnett. We are all hoping and praying for the closure on your daughter's case. It's been 3 years as with this case, and we know that there is no final resolution, but if we can close that chapter, I know it will help you greatly. Continued success, and thank you so much for volunteering for Victims United. Members, as Jamie said, this is our child. Somewhere there is a parent, a relative, a friend who doesn't know where victim John Doe 28 is. Let's bring closure to this case. We passed this motion, and we are hopeful that somebody who knows the perpetrator, somebody who knows of the perpetrator, or who knows John Doe 28 might step forward, and so I thank you for the anticipated support that I know you will give. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alarcon, and thank you for introducing that today. If there's no other further speakers, let's go ahead and prepare the roll on this reward motion. Please tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. We'll send that forthwith to the mayor for his signature, and thank you again for your time and for being here. That will take us to our general public comment now. I'd like to ask Dr. Clyde Williams to come forward. Oscar Johnson will be our second speaker, and after Mr. Johnson will be Arnold Sachs. Good morning.
My name is Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno. Yesterday, the Board of Water and Power approved another transfer payment, $28 million back to the city. Isn't the purpose of a public service to meet the needs of its ratepayers and not to make a profit? It's not considered profit. It's net surplus revenue, which for most people would be profit. Therefore, it seems that by a 51% vote, you can transfer $28 million now and previously almost $100 million to the general fund. This sounds like a tax by way of the Department of Water and Power. The Department of Water and Power had surplus income. However, it's been trying to push for more solar panels. However, they could have built 10,000 solar panels over this year with the net surplus revenue. They could have lowered the lifeline and low-income discounts so that more people could qualify in this time of financial uncertainty. They could have also given greater rebates for refrigerators, for washing machines, and thereby conserve more power. Why does net surplus in revenue, i.e. profit, have to come back to the city's general fund without a two-thirds majority vote? Thank you.
Thank you. Oscar Johnson is our next speaker. Arnold Yes, sorry, before Mr. Johnson, Mr. Smith.
I'm named Oscar Johnson.
Hold on one second, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Smith is just going to say something briefly. If we can get Mr. Smith's mic on.
It's just an information point for Mr. Williams and anyone else listening. The power transfer was approved by the voters of this city decades ago as an opportunity to transfer surplus funds to the city of Los Angeles. And so it doesn't require a two-thirds vote. It doesn't require voter approval. The voters gave that authority many decades ago, and we just continue that practice. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, thank you for your patience.
Speak for the press and I speak for culture change. First, I'd like to send our condolences to the people of Palestine for the terror they keep receiving from Israel. We see in this month ballot, Measure B, that the Los Angeles finna receive a 0.5% sale tax from our mayor. All the sale tax will go to the MTA. Our MTA need better buses. We need to be more make our mayor more accountable for his action. We need to tell our mayor to create more jobs, to bring more jobs to Los Angeles, especially for our youth and disadvantaged. We need to end corruption in government, end illegal immigration. Illegal immigration is costing the taxpayer millions amount of dollars in the prison, and they're causing the taxpayer millions amount of dollars with education with our failing system. Maybe we need to rechange our education system to some type of religious order since our morale have fell down so bad. We need to have a fair government and a just government, because if we don't, we keep receiving hypocrisy, deceit, and broken promises from our mayor. And from all our people that try to represent us, we need better dwelling for the homelessness. Jane Perry and Herb Wesky can do better for their district than what they're doing. Los Angeles is in very super poverty state now. We're very super poverty people. We need help from government to do the right thing and guide us in the right direction. We need to ask President Barack Obama to guideline a mandate for the to eliminate the excess of force by law enforcement, to have boundaries with law enforcement, because we hear numerous of times law enforcement is going around the country killing innocent unarmed females, but they should be transgressed to kill anyone unarmed. But when you kill an unarmed females, you really transgress boundaries. We should have something like a dialogue of race and law. Seem as though we have brought in some un-America to control one part of America, not the America for all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Arnold Sachs. After that will be Lucille Caruso.
Good morning, City Council. Arnold Sachs. Just a public service announcement that next Thursday, I believe, is Bike to Work Day on MTA. Except if you're trying to ride the rail lines during rush hour, they won't let you ride your bike they won't let you take your bike on the purple or the red line or the blue line. And except if you're the third biker attempting to board a bus, because they only load 2 bikes on the front. So other than those 2 opportunities to use your bike on a transit system, you can ride your bike to work. Maybe you can get a note from your boss to come in late. There was discussion in the tourism committee today regarding the marathon. The question I have for the legacy runners that seems to come up, or doesn't seem to come up, is ask your council representative if they voted against the change to Memorial Day. Not if they were against the change, but if they voted against it itself. That's a huge difference. You'll find that nobody actually voted against the change to Memorial Day. And back to the article regarding Laura Chick and the dysfunctional characterization of City Council, which I mentioned yesterday. Was that before or after she left? What's really surprising is, coming here all the time, you do note that it is a dysfunctional atmosphere. And then you get the idea that people sitting in City Council are going to be moving on to higher positions within the city government. And speaking of which, yesterday you honored an employee for their over 20 years of service. And so I'm concerned because that goes against the mayor's description. Or maybe it's only until they get to 30 years that they become deadwood. So she still has 8 or 10 years to go. The mayor says we need to eliminate the deadwood in the city departments, and the city council turns around and awards them. It's a conundrum for the public.
Thank you. Lucille Caruso is our next speaker. After that is Ruben Murillo.
Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me? Is that better? When I came here before, sometimes I say, I don't think like you, But I wanted to say I got my Certificate of Achievement for Better Government that had successfully completed the required civic exam of the Declaration of Independence, Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the flag of the United States. And I'm thinking maybe that's why we don't really think alike here, because I'm looking at Ordinance 179681, Women's Rights Handbook. It says the disabled person has to have a physical or mental impairment. Last time I was here, I had Rosie Riveter T-shirt, and I have all these medical problems, and that Ruth Schwartz doesn't allow people to keep female clothes over there, and I don't understand why she got Woman of the Year. And it says about the 60s, talk about anxiety, depression, we're quick to prescribe drugs, barbiturates, tranquilizers, calm them down, speed them up, and all these prescription drugs. And when I went to Portals, when I was at New Image Shelter, they want to go tell me to Portals, go say I should declare some kind of
To speak into the microphone so we could hear you just a little better, just so you could slow down and speak right in so we could hear you. Thank you.
And then they tell me, I should go, claim myself. The thing to do is get an SSI check. That way you got it. Well, I'm brought up with women's rights movement. I don't even fit in with what, I'm going to keep clashing against this ideology with this state over here. I don't understand it. So I sent a lot of emails to you, and I know you are aware of that. On January 3rd, I send this email, and I want to talk about transportation. I'm running short. And what I write in this is signs should be on your highway, exit here for rail system, 10 minutes to downtown. And I'm sending this to you, okay? And then I read about Our Lady, and that was January 5th, and then March, whatever date, I don't have time and I get nervous, saying the exact same wording I'm saying. I sent this to you, and that guy there. But when I say it's true, it says undisclosed recipients. Who reads your emails? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Caruso. Ruben Murillo is our next speaker. After that is Phil Jennerjohn. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ruben Murillo. I live at 2537 East 4th Street. I am a delegate for the State Central Committee and a lifelong resident of Boyle Heights. The reason for me being here is because I'm bringing forth an issue that's been ongoing for the past 25 years with Del Mercado in regards to the issuance and non-compliance of permits and alcohol licenses. Recently, Mr. Rosado has applied for another license to have a full line of liquor, which has actually been conditionally approved with the support of Mr. Jose Huizar. Now, Mr. Jose Huizar's got a law degree, and as such, he's actually supposed to uphold the law. He's going against the Assembly Bill 2897, which is the Caldera bill. There's already an over-concentration of licenses in Boyle Heights. There's 249 licenses already in Boyle Heights in a 10 square mile area. Now, the Caldera bill clearly states that if there is an overpreponderance of licenses, that there should be no further licenses issued. For that census tract of 2039, there's a total of 5 licenses allowed. There's a total of 13 right there right now, of which Mr. Rosado holds 5 of them. There's actually 13 licenses in there. Now, Mr. Huizar's representatives have actually perjured themselves and given false testimony and indicating that Mr. Rosado is in compliance and has no outstanding issues and is in compliance with the City of Los Angeles. I have a list of 22 permits that have been allowed to expire and he is not in compliance with. Now, again, what we want in Boyle Heights is actually adequate representation, which we don't seem to be getting from Mr. Huizar. Mr. Huizar, shame on you. We have testified on numerous...
If you can please address the council as a whole, sir.
Thank you.
And just as a reminder to our speakers, if you'll please address the council as a whole instead of any individual council members. Phil Jenajan is our next speaker. And that's just because it's testimony to the council, not to any individuals. After that will be Dan Garcia. Good morning.
My name is Phil Jenajan. I'm the public relations spokesman for a group called Westside Republicans. And you can find us online at westsiderepublicans.com. You can also join us on Facebook. And our organization is growing rapidly, gaining more and more members all the time. I'd like to invite a citizen here in Los Angeles to join. I'm here to announce two upcoming events. On Wednesday, May 13th, our organization is having a dinner in Westwood where we're going to hear from two candidates for public office, people who are running for election in 2010. Al Ramirez, who's running for U.S. Senate against Barbara Boxer, and Ari David, who is running for Congress in the 30th Congressional District against Henry Waxman. For more details on attending this dinner, go to our website, westsiderepublicans.com. Now, the huge news is that we've gotten our permit for the Westwood Tea Rally, Westwood Tea Party Rally, Sunday, May 17th from 3 to 6 p.m. It's sponsored by Westside Republicans. Patriotic citizens who love their country and are opposed to oppressive government taxation will gather and protest and support the defeat of Proposition 1A. Speakers scheduled to appear include radio show host Kevin James, writer-producer, comedian Evan Sayet, actor and writer Basil Hoffman, San Fernando Valley Republican Club President Gary Amanoff, top conservative radio show host Tony Katz, and yes, even yours truly, former mayoral candidate Phil Jenajan, has been invited to speak at the rally. Our chairman, Rob Pedersen, invites our fellow Angelinos to join our protest Sunday, May 17th, 3 p.m., Federal Building in Westwood. Please park at the UCLA parking structures and walk across the street. I'd like to end today with a quote from President Ronald Reagan. He said that, quote, "Above all, we must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in any of the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon that our adversaries in today's world do not have," unquote. Citizens of Los Angeles and council members, please come and see free men and women in action at the Federal Building on May 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jenajan. Our next speaker is Daniel Garcia. After that is Walter Bechtel.
Thank you. Good morning. In the day that we are so concerned about the issue about the public food supply and in the environment, I want to announce that about a rally that could happen on May 20th, 2009, here in downtown LA at 4 p.m. and it's for join us in Los Angeles at this City Hall on 2010 to demand and end to food waste, healthier food for our community, and less red tape in getting food assistance. My main concern here is because a lot of people with disability will be cut, and they are being cut and penalized by the state. So that's why I'm concerned, so that you can actually do something about it. And I would like to encourage the city council to come to this rally. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Yes, Mr. LaBonge?
CLA's office like to help that last speaker so we could assist in any which way possible. Okay.
Sure, we can get our city clerk position that's dedicated to that. Thank you. Walter Bechtel. After that, it will be Rick Nightingale out in Van Nuys. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. I noticed that there was an announcement that you're trying to locate whoever might know about this body. I don't think you gave any description exactly where you found the body. I think if you really want somebody to help you with that, it would be a good idea if you gave the crossroads. I don't think anybody understands. That would help a lot. I mean, if you're really trying to locate these people, don't give them an address, you give them a crossroads. But I didn't want to talk about that today. I wanted to say something about, I think that you're having problems making money, and I think it might be a good idea. Why doesn't the city initiate what you might call a spit and whistle law? If you would fine these people or deduct from their tap card or something every time they put their feet on the seat or spit or try to annoy people in different ways, I think that you wouldn't have so much of a revenue problem like you're having. The problem I see is that you keep having problems, and you keep thinking that you keep crying about all these problems, but you're not producing money in the traditional ways that you've been able to produce money in the past, except for metering when people go to park their car. I mean, if these people want to act rich, that's fine. They can act rich all they want to, but I think they ought to put their money down every time they do that. And it's not easy to enforce it. So, I already came up and said something about the tap card, and you're having problems with that. Why don't you, instead of sending the police out every time, just deduct it from their tap card or something like that instead of having to put up with these people? Why don't we get some money out of them?
Thank you, Mr. Bechtel. Our next speaker is Rick Nightingale. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Alarcon.
I'd just like to repeat for the record that I did say what the crossroads were. The crossroads were Langdon and Parthenia, and I believe I said south of Parthenia. So if anybody missed that, but thank you for. If you didn't understand it, I'm sure somebody out there in Channel 35 land didn't understand it as well. So I'm happy to repeat it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Rick Nightingale in Van Nuys, and then we'll hear from Stephanie Marticic in San Pedro.
Yeah, Rick Nightingale. Boy, I was appalled, excuse me, that a councilman member tried to make me out to be a racist and a bigot and so forth yesterday. Anytime a white person turns around and says anything between a black, a Mexican, or Asian, or anything like that, you call us a bigot or whatever. It really gets old. Just because we think maybe we say something that's just another way of saying, oh, well, we disagree with you, but then you try to put it a different way. I grew up around Mr. Alacon's area. He grew up less than a half a mile from me in Sun Valley. So I grew up in a Hispanic area, and when I was growing up a little kid, my best friend was Hispanic. I have all kinds I belong to different clubs and that, and then I associate and go out to dinner with all different races. So don't even try to think that I'm a racist when I do say things from anything that I do say. You people don't do the law. I am completely against the illegals coming in. Yes, I say something about it. If you're legal, you abide by the law, then I'll go along completely whatever happens. But I believe in the law, or else this is going to end up to be a big war. And this is what it's happened to be. People talk about somebody else, and then you people turn around and make it that other people are a bigot or whatever, because we do not want the way it's going. It's taken our economy to the toilet, our schools, and you wonder why nobody can learn. I worked for the school board at one time as an electrician. I was in the classrooms. I don't know if you've been in there. But the people can't speak English. They can't learn because you can't turn around and tell one person to one person and come out with the same thing at the end. You tried it for, 5 years, and it didn't work. So, this is really getting old, that you turn around and say these things regarding when somebody says something against some race, whether against the lesbians or whatever. We have a right to say it, and that's the way it should be, and it should stop. Thank you.
Our next speaker is in San Pedro, Stephanie Marticic. Good morning.
Good morning. It's always nice to be addressing the City Council. I hope you can hear me clearly.
It's a spontaneous gesture to be here. I was at the PBID meeting this morning, and we thank the council for helping us get our property-based bid in order. Things are progressing more rapidly than usual, given all the bureaucratic effort it takes. Before I say just a few more words, I want to commend Ashley's mother. She was so articulate and poised. I was very moved to hear what she had to say, and particularly with respect to our program you heard us tell you about on April 17th for part of the LA Harbor International Film Festival. When we were in City Council, thanks to Councilwoman Hahn bringing in Russ Tamblyn, and unfortunately George Takiris was ill that day, but to recognize them in our festival coming up that was April 23rd through the 26th, where we showed West Side Story for See the Movie, Stop the Violence. We had a great festival. We are continuing undaunted, even though we did not have the greatest attendance. We will reach out continually to all of you council people to create that cinematic bridge between the region and the region, the district and the district. We need your people coming out. We provide free programs, refreshments, the read the books, see the movie program, and we will continue to do this as long as yours truly is still breathing. And believe me, it is a lot of effort, but it's worth it when you have 800 students showing up at the Warner Grand Theater with a bagpiper there calling them to see Kidnapped, the beautiful Walt Disney movie based on the Robert Louis Stevenson book. There's a lot going on in San Pedro. We have our waterfront promenade. We have a lot of interesting things at the Warner Grand Theater. Please stay in touch. We will do that. And we thank you so much for everything you're doing for our city to promote art and culture and education. It's not easy in these times, but if we all work together and communicate, we can continue to make everything better and brighter. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. I think Ms. Hahn?
I know it's public comment. I'm not I got the city attorney watching me, but I just wanted to thank Stephanie Martisich for, again, putting on a wonderful LA Harbor International Film Festival, to have the two stars of West Side Story, Russ Tamblyn and George Takiris, there talking to the young people about seeing the movie and stopping the violence as they watch West Side Story was just one of the great moments of that weekend. But I just want to really thank Stephanie and all the volunteers who made this a great weekend in San Pedro, and we wish her more success in the future. Great job, Stephanie.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. That will close our general public comment. If we can, I think the commissioner we're going to do on consent, so if there's no objection, let's take up item 7, please. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. I know that Ms. Hahn wanted to reconsider and put on the items called special item 28 from yesterday. Right?
And Mr. President, just for the record, the council file number on that item is 090840, and it was item number 28 from Tuesday, May 5th.
Okay. Please prepare the roll on reconsideration. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That will be called special for today, for the meeting. That takes us to item 6, and we have cards from the public. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. A quick introduction, Mr. Labange, and then we'll recognize Mr. Alarcon and go. Mr. Labange.
Hi, I just wanted to welcome a great class from Los Angeles City College. On behalf of Mr. Garcetti, the President of City Council, on behalf of Mr. Parks, and I, who both went to Los Angeles City Council, we're very special to have a special government class here, and we have their Professor Henry Ely, who's here. Henry, stand up there, give some recognition. All the students, Los Angeles City College Cubs. And also, if you could, come right here, Britannia Dixon, who's an intern volunteer on Fridays in the 4th District. Give Britannia a big hand.
Thank you. We love LACC, and it's great to have you here. Please do come back anytime. I'd like to recognize Mr. Alarcon, number 6, and we have 3 cards from the public, Mr. Alarcon, so as you wish.
Yes, in anticipation there'd be some concerns raised about some language in the ordinance that has been that is before us. What I'd like to do is continue this matter for a couple of days. There is some troubling language with regard to the general manager having the opportunity to waive fees for animals that may have value and then are given to, for example, pet adoption places, and then they sell them. Even though the ordinance says they may not sell them, I think that may be abused, and the door is too wide open. So I know that Dove LaSalle from the City Attorney's Office is rewriting that paragraph, and in cooperation with the Mayor's Office and the Interim General Manager, we would like to continue this matter for 2 days.
Okay. Is there any objection? To calendar days or to council days? Do you want to continue till Friday of this week? Okay. I will continue that till the 8th without objection, so ordered. Next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, is item number 10, and that was called special by Councilmember Labange.
Councilmember Labange, item 10. You want us to go to the next one? Are you good? Mr. Labange calls for an aye vote from the rear of the chambers. With that, democracy in action, which includes certificates and pictures. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next item is item number 16, and that was called special by Councilmember Reyes.
Councilmember Reyes, item 16 is before us.
Thank you, Council President. First, I want to thank the folks from the high-speed trains, California High-Speed Rail Project that have been working with us. Colleagues, you have before you is a motion that essentially directs our departments to look at the impact and get reports back on how this facility will affect our city. As you know, at different levels, we've been working to essentially establish mitigations and create relief for many of our communities that follow along the river throughout the Central Corridor. Now we have a very inviting facility that will get us to other destinations using state-of-the-art technology. But we also know there will be impacts in our environment, there will be impacts on our parks, there will be impacts on our transportation system, our infrastructure, especially within the center of our region, in which you have all the different markets converging, our local traffic, our city-wide traffic, our county-wide traffic. So how this bullet train, how its rail tracks, how its infrastructure will impact our city is a very serious question. And we should do everything in our power to make sure that the respective departments have done their due diligence in advising us as to how we're going to work as a partner with this entity and actually look at how we create a leveraging point to increase improvements, to ease the congestion, but to also meet our environmental, our water quality issues, and how this infrastructure develops. So this motion is requesting that the Planning Department, Department of Transportation, and others begin their analysis to advise us of these impacts. And for me, I would really like to see how we can be more flexible in addressing the scope of impact through their EIR. Currently, it's limited from Anaheim to Union Station, then from Union Station to the next area going north is another phase. My concern is that we do not include the impacts beyond Union Station, then we'll be stuck within that phase with the advice and recommendations from the first phase. Also, we should discuss other options for Union Station. We have other facilities that are in District 14. We have Piper Tech. We have the Piggyback Yard. That could be potential station sites. So again, how we improve the transportation infrastructure, how we use shuttle systems, how we create these options is something I believe our communities deserve. It doesn't mean we have to do it, but it does allow for a more informed public, a more informed city, looking at the multi-jurisdictional issues that are along the LA River. So now is the time to put all the cards on the table. I want to work in partnership with them. I believe this body has a strong track record in facilitating projects of this scale, but we should be very clear as to what these impacts will be in our respective communities.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Our next speaker is Mr. Labonge, then Mr. Weezer and Ms. Perry. Mr.
Thank you very much, members. There was a motion that I put in along with Ms. Gruhl to discuss this following the Proposition 1A passing. I would like to ask that the members of the California High-Speed Rail Authority, including its regional manager of Southern California, Bruce Armstead, if you want to come to the center table as well, and Dan Tapelis, if I say that correctly, I apologize, Dan, the project manager for Los Angeles to Palmdale, and Valerie Martinez, who's the director of communications. I think Mr. Reyes hit it on the head. Everybody has to come to the table. Everybody has to put it on and have a robust discussion. The most important thing about this is that we make it right. This is absolutely a 100-year project. This is Los Angeles 1907 when Mulholland started talking about the aqueduct to the Pueblo. This will dramatically change Los Angeles, and it could complement Los Angeles or it could have a negative if we don't do it right. So if you give us a little overview, hold my time. City Clerk, if you would, please. Thank you, Maria. And give an overview and look at the projector.
We do have a very brief PowerPoint that we're going to go through just to make it visual. Here it is. We will run through rather quickly to make sure that we have time for questions. The high-speed rail system is an 800-mile system, steel wheel on steel tracks, 100% clean electric power that will run in speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour. There are 4 sources of funding for the project, including a state bond, which passed Proposition 1A in November. It was $9.95 billion. $950 million of that is for regional improvements to regional transit systems. We're also going to be looking for public-private partnerships. We've already started that process. We are also seeking federal funding, including stimulus package funding. Right now, the President has come out very strongly in support of the project and has earmarked $8 billion for high-speed train projects throughout the country, as well as legislation that's been introduced for other funding, and then local funding for station locations. The economic benefits to Los Angeles are extensive. You have this in front of you. You can go over it at your leisure. Essentially, we did through the Cal State Los Angeles, we worked with a professor, and he did a thorough analysis on the economic benefits of LA, including one of the benefits would be adding $348 million per year to LA County tax revenues by 2020. Here is an overview of annual boardings for selected stations. You see there right at the top, LA Union Station, 10.8 million per year by the year 2030. Our project milestones, as you can see, the California High-Speed Rail Authority was established in 1996. We started scoping in I should go back. In 2005, we actually completed our program level EIR-EIS, which is that 35,000-foot look at where the project goes. For instance, it's going through LA. That's, it's going through Fresno. It's going through Sacramento. That was the level, the program level. We have currently started the project level EIR-EIS. We started scoping in LA in 2007. We're looking to have a draft document by 2010. And we, again, have put in a funding request for $123 million through the state budget. Our project level activities are as follows. We are evaluating project alternatives, looking at multiple options, engaging diverse stakeholder audiences, and with a very thorough environmental technical study.
Okay, and I'm going to walk through a couple of slides on Union Station and exactly how we get into Los Angeles from the south. That's our corridor overview. We go from Anaheim with an optional station stop at Fullerton, then from Fullerton to Hobart Yard, and then we go up from Hobart Yard into LA Union Station. You're supposed to click through those. Okay. And here's an overview of LA Union Station, and what's going to pop up next are the physical features around the station. Everything from Metro Rebuild Facility to the Metro Red Line Yard. What's shown in white there is the LA run-through tracks, which are currently just finishing the environmental process. What's shown in blue is our high-speed train tracks, and shown in red is the current way they access Union Station. The blue line is just a depiction of how we might come into the station. Our next slide is a cartoon of what it could look like coming from the south. Here we're along the Riverbank Station, just above the Metro Red Line Yard. The bridge you see in the foreground is First Street Bridge, and would propose to be on an elevated structure going into Union Station from the south. These are a few plan and profile sheets that give you some of the detail associated with getting into Union Station from the south.
The art district.
Right, and our curve avoids the Arts District. That's how it crosses over First Street and then goes over to the river and then get down to grade, and we go under 4th Street Bridge.
This last year, we've been studying heading north from Union Station. The area there you see boxed in red, basically from Union Station up to the 134 in Glendale. We've looked at a variety of different options, and as we go to the Union Station area here, you can see there it's shaded in white. Then we've got some different colors there depicting what the profile might look like going north from Union Station. The blue is a viaduct or an overhead system for the tracks following the existing corridor to the east bank, and then this is one that is also as an alternative along the west bank that essentially goes down Main Street. Then as we head north up through Taylor Yard, what we're doing is we're going into a trench configuration shared with Metrolink. So in other words, if you know Alameda Corridor, we're going to take both rails systems down into a trench, and this gives us some advantages in terms of being able to lit it periodically and blending it in with the surrounding community. This is just a rendering of what that might look like. You can see Metrolink on one side, high-speed rail on the other, and this is just a rendering of what a lid section might look like through that particular area. And then as we head north from State Route 2 to 134, we're essentially paralleling Metrolink at grade through that particular section.
Just a summary of the activities here in the LA Station area. We're working to attract stimulus money. It positions the Union Station as the gateway to Southern California. We are going through an environmental process that's comprehensive. We will look at community UPACs that are viewed alongside possible mitigations, and it does create opportunities to improve rail corridors. Our next steps, we've completed our program-level environmental document, and we're currently underway with the project-specific environmental analyses from LA Union Station to the south to Arctic and Anaheim. Next steps, we expect to have the 10% alignment drawings by the end of 2009. The current 10% drawings are available. In 2011, we expect to complete the environmental process and break ground on early project elements. In 2015, we'll begin testing the prototype train sets. In 2018, 2020, we hope to launch our operation from San Francisco to Los Angeles/Anaheim. That'll be the backbone of our system. And there's our website if you should have any inquiries, or we're available to answer any questions you might have.
Bruce, thank you very much, all of you. I had the opportunity this morning to ride around with Bruce and Carol just to look at things. Valerie, I'm sorry, I made that mistake once before. I apologize. And to show some of the challenges, especially in the sensitive areas. The opportunity is now to start off and discuss it, and I think it's very important for the Rail Authority to work with the council members of their districts who have that knowledge and passion and also vision for what they feel should be the area. But the big thing, members, I absolutely want us to all hear is I don't want this council to make a mistake like a previous council did on the Green Line. Mr. Rosendahl always talks about the Green Line stop at 1.5 miles from the airport. Whatever we do, it's got to be integrated to the system or near to it so it's a connection in some way. Because if it's too separate, it's very difficult to be successful. And I'll ask anybody to travel, and I'll help them get there to see some of the new systems in the world. In our sister city of Berlin, the way they developed the system, that they absolutely have it on top, and they bury it. So it's not, it goes underneath the city, but they bury it, and everybody is on the top, from the local rail to the local bus system to the intercity system to then what is the high-speed rail, and that it works. But we have to do it right, and it's real important. I also think and I know for the Valley representatives, Mr. Cardenas, Ms. Gruhl, for the brief few blocks where the rail line goes through in your area, and also Mr. Smith, and Mr. Cardenas, all of us in that corridor. It's going to be an impacted corridor as it is with the Union Pacific lines that are there, as well as and the Amtrak's which share that. A fact that I didn't know, the high-speed rail line train car and its track could not integrate with a a Amtrak card could be shared at the same time. You could hold my time and explain that from an engineering standpoint, Bruce.
The Amtrak equipment and Metrolink equipment is much heavier than the currently proposed high-speed rail equipment. So the FRA has not given us permission to share trackage with those other modes of passenger transportation.
So that's real important for safety, and all the grade crossings will be separated. There'll be no arms coming up and down.
That's
They'll
correct.
be all separated all the way.
That's correct.
What would you envision this would be built, at least in this stretch from Orange County through Los Angeles, North Los Angeles County?
Well, we hope to run our first train in 2020.
2020.
Yes,
From Anaheim.
From Anaheim to San Francisco. The High-Speed Rail Authority Board has not selected the segment of the lines that will be built first, but we are the furthest along in the environmental process. So it stands to reason that we may be first.
I also want to say, too, I think it's so important. Our president has a great vice president who has a passion for rail, and also that he put money in, the president for high-speed rail. And I think it's a very great opportunity. I also think it's an opportunity for right planning, and as Mr. Reyes said it, to repeat it, to articulate it, and see also what could be done in your infrastructure project that would enhance the Los Angeles River, which many of us are passionate about in its transformation and change at the same time, and also complement the historic structures that cross the river, all the exception of the Main Street Bridge, which is the most recent bridge, but everything else is somewhat of a historic bridge, and how that goes. I don't know when my timer stopped, but since you stopped my timer, I'll keep talking, Madam Clerk. I know I'm giving you a...
Thank you, Mr. Zion. Mr. Labange, and Mr. Weezar is our next speaker.
Thank you very
We
much.
appreciate your
I was
articulate
honest there. I was
words.
honest, members.
Thank you, Mr. Weezar, Ms.
Mr.
Perry,
Labange,
Ms.
when the
Hahn,
timer
Mr.
stops, that means you stop. You don't keep talking. You know? Well, thank you, first of all, for all your hard work. I know you've been meeting with a number of us and have given a presentation to the Ad hoc River Committee. One of the things we want to continue discussing is that for those council members whose this line will overlap, we hope we could have continued discussions on that. And I know my staff has been working with you on several issues. Now, have you selected there's been talk about where the station will be, but have you done an analysis about the different options for a station near and around downtown?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And the alternative that's starting to look like the most feasible is an over Union Station alternative.
Is what?
It's the
Over?
elevated existing for connectivity purposes, and the land uses around the station. It looks like the elevated above the existing station is the option that will come out of our analysis.
Okay, and once you put your EIR, you will put that as one possibility amongst others as alternatives, correct?
That's correct.
And you study the environmental impacts of those.
Right.
And when do you predict or plan to have the EIR out?
We expect to have a draft EIR by the end of this year.
By the end of this year?
Yes.
Okay. Secondly, and I assume you would go out in the local community, I mean, this is actually a citywide issue, we're going to have a great public transportation system, but particularly those communities there, I'm sure you would go out and have several meetings and community outreach, et cetera, as required by law. And
We have been working very closely with city departments, not just with City of LA, but throughout, but also with the individual members, city councils and such. We are going to strengthen that and continue to go to rotaries. I mean, getting down to as much of a grassroots level as we can. We are a lean, mean machine, I got to say, in terms of the way we're functioning. So we really welcome any opportunity to partner with council offices to do outreach meetings or community meetings or neighborhood council meetings. We are here, we are available, and we're more than happy to talk to anyone you would like us to talk to. In fact, we encourage, if in fact you know of a group or organization in your community that you think would either feel an impact or have an interest, feel free to give us a call. We're always happy to participate in those sorts of events.
And my final question is on the financing, because we've talked about high-speed rail for a long time. It seems a bit more optimistic now since we do have a president that is very interested in this mode of transportation. We just have the bond, as you mentioned. Is this fully funded?
What's required is a finance plan. So we are in the process of solidifying that plan. Essentially, there are four sources of funding. We have state funding, and we in fact have come across with our state funding given the fact that we passed the bond in 2008. That was $9.95 billion. There is federal funding we're going to be seeking. Stimulus funding has been earmarked in the amount of $8 billion for nationwide. We're anticipating and we are applying for $2 to $4 billion of that. And we've been working very, very closely with the Department of Transportation to access those funds. The governor's office is actually the entity that's responsible for submitting that application. Additionally, we have been working with Dianne Feinstein's office, with Nancy Pelosi's office, to address legislation in general that could develop a department of high-speed train, high-speed rail, that would actually be would mirror very much what we're doing here in California, but it would be a national department, and that would have its own funding and be very similar to what has been done previously with rail. And then, of course, so we have public-private partnerships where we're going to be seeking funds from private entities. We've started that process. It started, I believe, a year and a half ago, where we did a call for interested parties who would be interested in investing at that level. We had a wonderful turnout of like 32 entities, with 5 that were real.
So in terms of total cost and how much money has been allocated to date, we are 2/3 there, a quarter there, 10% there?
You know, what I'll say is that we have, our plan is in place, and we are looking very strong, because but see, where my hesitation comes in is that the state budget becomes the wild card.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. As long as the state budget continues to be in the state that it's in, or it's kind of non-existent at this point, it will hamper our project, frankly.
Great.
Because then it even creates problems for us receiving federal stimulus money, and I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Exactly, and what I'm trying to get at, as you know, is that we've talked about this for decades, and I'm trying to figure out
we're poised to do it. The
real it is this
there.
time. It's a lot more realistic this time, but
Absolutely.
at the same time, it all depends on financing. And for anyone who has traveled and seen high-speed rail system outside of this country, it's phenomenal, and it's so efficient, it's environmentally friendly, the right thing to do, and hopefully working together, this could be made a reality this time. And we've talked a lot about it, and hopefully we could deliver for the state of California this time. So thanks for all your hard work. Thanks.
We have Ms. Perry, and then Ms. Hahn, then Mr. Smith, and then Mr. Reyes.
Thanks, Mr. President. I'll make this very, very quick. I represent the area of Little Tokyo, which is south of where you are interested in going, and I am very happy to hear that you want to partner with us so that you can extend the reach of your outreach. And I'm just going to ask you to contact me after this is done, and we're going to have to help you do your outreach and go deeper into the community. And while it's not directly flowing through the community, we do have a potential project at First and Alameda, which would be an expansion of Little Tokyo, and the potential for ambient noise and air quality issues and those sorts of things need to be examined by the community, as should the Los Angeles River community in the Arts District. They need to be a partner in all this too. So I just want to say that for the record. Oftentimes with transportation projects, in the early stages, people don't necessarily listen, and this is critical, really, really critical, that people hear this now and get their input in now.
Thank you.
Ms. Hahn is next.
Thank you. I appreciate this presentation. Many of you know I sit on SCAG's new Aviation Steering Committee, and we're trying to connect the idea of a regionalization of our airports with high-speed rail. And so my comments today would be pretty much along the lines of what Councilmember LaBonge said. I mean, it is critical that this high-speed rail connect our airports. And I think that is key to us doing what we've been trying to do, which is make sure that the entire region can benefit from air traffic, as well as share some of the burdens of air traffic. But I've always seen high-speed rail as being able to connect right into the different airports in the region. I think that will do more to ease congestion and allow the air traffic commuters to utilize something like high-speed rail to get to their final destination. So that would be my comment on anything we're looking at to really take this rail and connect all of our airports in Southern California. First and foremost, I think that's critical to the movement of passengers. The other thing so we're still deciding between maglev and
No, we're steel wheel on steel rail.
Totally steel wheel.
Right, all steel wheel on steel rail.
And why have we abandoned the idea of maglev? Did you say that? Okay. I'm just curious to know.
The High-Speed Rail Authority has always been steel wheel on steel rail, and we're looking at technologies that have been used in the 80s.
I have a hard time hearing you. Could you
I'm sorry. We've always been steel wheel on steel rail. The High-Speed Rail Authority, that's the technology.
It's always been that track, so to speak.
Yes.
There was a review of maglev. There was a discussion about technologies, and when it came down to looking at cost and connectivity, it really did come down to steel wheel on steel rail.
So
it's also proven technology. The Asians and the Europeans have been running high-speed trains, well, Japanese since 1964, and the technology has been steel wheel, steel rail, 4'8" and a half on concrete ties.
Okay. Well, that's good. And again, I just want to reiterate my comments that I think, again, in terms of mobility in Southern California, I am all for high-speed rail. I think the time is now, but I think we miss a huge opportunity if we don't connect the current airports in this region with high-speed rail. That will take more cars and commuter traffic off of the more dense regions than I think probably any other transportation idea that we can ever come up with. So this is our opportunity in the planning stages to get that out there. I think that's a critical piece of high-speed rail.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith. You can tell the story now.
What perfect timing. Thank you. First of all, I just want to commend Mr. Reyes. When this proposal first came forward, he says, this is going to disrupt my community and change the vision we have for cleaning up that corridor. And we can't do that. And he held fast. And I want to commend you. I want Mr. Reyes to know when I met with him just a few weeks ago about high-speed rail, the first thing I asked him was, what are you doing about Mr. Reyes' concerns? And he said, we're going to work that out. We'll figure it out. And we'll all come to a win conclusion. I think that's the thing to do. On the High-Speed Rail Authority maglev, while I think it's a great technology, and I still believe it's the better technology, the world's not there yet. And so I went to Washington, D.C. last month, met with Senator Feinstein, Senator Boxer, other congressional staff, and all the money is going to steel rail. That's where it's at. And their advice to us was, go that way and you'll get there. And there is a corridor in L.A. that is being authorized for federal money, and it would be wise for you to talk to them. Well, it just so happens when this city council formed the JPA with West Covina and Ontario, it was not for maglev but for high-speed rail, giving us the options to go any direction. And so that authority actually meets for the first time next month. I've had discussion with the staff about that fact that we're going along the same corridor, and in fact we have the same goals in mind, and in fact the federal corridor is recognized, and if we could cooperate with them and build a system together, that if we went to high-speed rail via steel track, as they are doing, that our equipment and their equipment would work on the same track, we could save us all a lot of money and increase with great energy both systems. That if we could build a portion from LAX into Union Station, which we planned on, and then take the other portion outward at the end toward Ontario Airport, that gets us where we want to go, and it would work with their system and actually feed into their system as well as support our system. We've had that discussion. There's a willingness to talk. Our High-Speed Rail Authority will meet next month, and we've invited them to come talk. Probably in our second meeting, we'll sit down in a very serious discussion on that. But the word from Washington, D.C. was, talk to these folks, work with them, because together I think there's more interest in funding that at the national level. The $8 billion that is funded, it's all steel rail. The additional $2 billion in the President's budget memo is steel rail, and that is where I think our authority will take us, and I look forward to having that second meeting with you to discuss how we can bring energy to both our systems, energize them both, and maybe cut both of our costs considerably as we build that one corridor, at least from Union Station to the Anaheim area. So I look forward to that discussion. I thank Mr. Reyes for continuing on and fighting for the things he believes in, because in the long run, we're all better off. It's going to be a much better system for you and for the city of LA, and one that we can all then sing Kumbaya and celebrate. So, did you have a comment, or you're just?
I was just going to dovetail, just to let everyone know that we have been working very closely with Mr. Reyes' office, and the good news is truly this is the first section that has been progressing the fastest has been the Orange County Los Angeles section. Obviously, that's Union Station. And Mr. Reyes has brought up a lot of very, very good points. And because it's the first section, it's the first high-speed rail section, it's a large section, a statewide section, so it's huge. Our executive director and our board is very interested in the comments that has come out of his office, and in many ways it's helping to guide us on policy when it comes to community affairs. So we actually really do appreciate the input.
Well, I think the value is that you've recognized that this high-speed rail is not going to be going across the flatlands of Bakersfield the whole trip. It goes through a very dense metropolitan area called Los Angeles. And Los Angeles has other concerns than a high-speed rail going across the desert floor. We want to make sure it blends with our community, and you've recognized that fact. I commend you, and I commend Mr. Reyes for making sure that we do that. Thank you.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. Listening to the discussion is great. Obviously, it's a no-brainer for us. The people did vote on it, and we did participate in the politics of getting that elected. I'm looking forward to the extension to LAX, which we intend to get the green line in there right away, so we have one set up that everybody else can plug into. We're talking about the corner of Century and Aviation Boulevard as a multifaceted center. So when you're thinking this whole thing through, make sure you look at that location where we hope with LAWA right now and the $7-8 billion development modernization, and with MTA, and with Measure R, where we got the green line thanks to Jenny Arpaza's leadership in Sacramento, contrary to everybody else who didn't take any interest in it. We got the green line into the bill, and that is the first thing we're going to do is get it into the airport. It's a mile and a half away. What a joke. And then from there, we can even take the green line down into the Galleria in Redondo and up Lincoln Boulevard into the Expo line when it gets in there. So we have a north-south relief, which there's none on the drawing boards except for the dreams and realities of where you're going to take this high-speed rail. So I look forward to that relationship. Secondly, again, it's a no-brainer, from Anaheim to Ontario. That link will be so substantially good, because the airlines right now don't care how long it takes for you to get to the gate at LAX. We do on the ground. And we know nonstop, direct, frequent, and discounted flights out of Ontario will happen as we modernize LAX and they begin to realize that Ontario is a good spot. But the only way to deal with that is get that corridor going. There's also some metro links just on the edge of Ontario. You must take the Metrolink system and look at your high-speed rail and see where it complements each other and where there's an unnecessary conflict, so that it's all one seamless rail system as we go forward with it. And obviously the last point I want to make, because I care about the regional air thing, is once we get this Palmdale business worked out and the massive thing, and we have the ability to get from Palmdale to anywhere else on a high-speed rail, then Palmdale will resurrect itself into a real airport, which it could be down the road. But keep us posted every step of the way, because I know there'll be more politics in this. There'll be more needs for monies. Get that federal stimulus money. Let us know whatever we need to do with Barack Obama and the new day in Washington. Okay? Thank you. Bless you.
Mr. Reyes next.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to thank the Executive Director, Manny Morishid, for his last phone call we had a couple of weeks ago. Okay. But I want to ask some real specific questions for the public can hear the response. At what point do you see us having the local neighborhood councils, the various river advocates, the folks who have been working with us on environmental issues, so start looking at detail and design impacts as they're being offered in your EIR? I mean, at what point are we going to be at that level of engagement? Can you please hold my time?
We've been working very closely with a number of the neighborhood councils. I'm sorry I don't have the list in front of me. I'm happy to share it with you, but I know that it is specifically in that area. We are also looking at, I know that we have previously gone through rounds of talking to Rotaries and talking to Kiwanis and a number of different organizations along those lines, as well as community groups. We want to continue doing that. We are at the point where we are going to be releasing our alternatives analysis within the next couple months for the Anaheim, Los Angeles section, as well as for portions of the Los Angeles, Palmdale section, including the neighborhoods that you're talking about. Yes. We want to definitely get out and have conversations with the community groups at that point, because we want to make sure we're receiving information and getting a sense of where things are, so that when we finally come out with the draft EIR-EIS, it's a solid document that people, feel that, that they can make comments about, and they know that what the process has been. Our goal with through the California High-Speed Rail Authority, our mandate is to ensure that this is a collaborative process all along the way. So we would love to work with your office to make sure that we're hitting the right groups.
Late summer, fall.
Okay, so right now we're in May.
Yeah.
You spoke to the end of the year to finish this phase of the EIR.
Right.
So in terms of the alternatives, can you give us a rough thumbnail sketch of what those alternatives would consist of? Please hold my time.
For which sections?
When you start talking about the entry into Los Angeles
from the
and
north,
coming to Union Station as you're going north.
Okay, coming out, going north. Yeah.
area.
These are the two alternatives that we're currently looking at. This first one comes out of Union Station over the existing rail tracks across to the other side of the river to the east bank, and then up the east bank. So this is the first one coming out of Union Station that we're currently studying. So we've got another one. Next slide.
But as you're coming into Union Station?
Yeah. These are both coming in or out of Union Station, depending upon how you look at it. This is another one we're currently looking at as well. It comes out of an elevated Union Station, goes down Main Street along the west bank of the river, and then crosses the river there. You can see between the 110 and the 5, and then north.
But the Union Station is the focal point on these alternatives?
Union Station is the focal point of these alternatives, yes.
Now, will there be any other focal points like Piper Tech and or the Piggyback Yard as focal points?
There was an evaluation done of an alternative station location at the Piper Tech and Regional Bus Rebuild Center facility, but because of the fact that all that existing infrastructure would have to be relocated, and it's also separate from existing Union Station by, 1,000 feet or so, 1,200 feet. Yeah. It doesn't provide a really good connectivity, plus the relocation of all that existing infrastructure, it's not really viewed as a viable alternative. So it's starting to look more and more like existing Union Station is going to be the alternative that's going to be carried forward through the environmental process.
I'd like to add that the feedback we've been getting from the people who run those facilities was that it wouldn't be something that they would like for us to see.
Right, but I think the integrity of the process should require that the stakeholders in the community should have just as much input as to how this project will evolve.
Yes, sir.
And so having different focal points, I think, would add to the level of integrity as to how we're listening to the community.
Right.
I do know that, I feel a little awkward because they're not in my district, but because of my role as chair of Plum and looking at my chairmanship as Alley River Committee, there's been many different insights offered to the process before you came into light.
Yes.
As to how significant these and sensitive these areas are. So the areas that are up into Union Station are very sensitive areas. When you talk about the burial sites of many of the Chinese former graveyard sites, that was a very critical role that the MTA had to contend with. The impact on the historic neighborhoods around Union Station is very significant.
Yes.
The impact on how the watershed is being reviewed, given our Los Angeles River Master Plan and its detail.
Yes.
See, that's the level of engagement we need to achieve if we're not just going to ride over the community through an EIR that will be, from points of view that I've heard, is more of a formality to get it built. I believe this EIR should have that substance. So I'm sharing this with you in the public light with these concerns, and that's the reason why I bring up those focal points.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Again, we'll continue this.
Okay. Mr. Huizar?
Thank you. Finally, on governance, the High-Speed Rail Authority, who sits on that? And, I mean, we don't need names, but what are the different categories of positions on that? Please hold my time.
A variety of people are appointed by the governor, by the pro tem, and by the speaker, and they represent different parts of Southern California.
Do we have any Los Angeles representation?
Not specifically from Los Angeles, and I, as someone who comes from Los Angeles and who does outreach here in Los Angeles, I think it would be a good idea for folks on council to perhaps forward some names to the governor's office, to the pro tem's office, and to the speaker's office to encourage participation by someone from LA City.
Well, I would ask if you could work with the council members who have expressed interest to see how we could coordinate that and hopefully have some Los Angeles representation, because at the end of the day, when the authority makes the final decisions on all this, we need to have someone from Los Angeles at the table. So hopefully working with Councilmember Reyes and Labange and others who have expressed interest, we want to make that one of our initial goals so that we could have some representation when the decisions are being made about what finally happens in Los Angeles.
Agreed. I do want to emphasize the fact that the decisions are made by the pro tem, the speaker, and the governor, and not by the authority itself.
Got it. And any new, are you aware of any of those appointments opening up soon? Are they by term?
They are by term. There are some terms that are up, but there has been no, from what I understand, no calls have been made to those people that they need to step down. But, I believe that there's always, the political positions, I believe there's always opportunity.
All right, great. Jerry Miller, our CLA, is going to give the council an analysis about when those terms are up and to help us strategize on how we could get some Los Angeles representation on the high-speed authorities.
Beautiful.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
And our last speaker is Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. I think this has been a robust conversation and an important start. I really think with the voices that say you got to get out and listen to the people who live in Los Angeles and the impacts, the history and all. I think Mr. Rosendahl said it best. We're all for this. Ms. Hahn getting into the airport, as Mr. Rosendahl said, Mr. Reyes, Mr. Huizar on the neighborhood, Ms. Perry, in the sense that everybody said very valuable things. Now you should take that valuable comments and come up with a strategy. Maybe not summertime, because people may be we're returning to traditional tracks thanks to Mr. Huizar's work when he was on the school board, but in the fall when people are back in school, get the attention of the neighborhood councils, come up with the plans, meet with everybody, have an office here in local Los Angeles that people could be in touch with. Information is knowledge is power. I think everybody wants this, but how it happens to be. And to complement the work of whatever the vision is for the Los Angeles River would be a golden opportunity. I did have one technical question. As an agency, do you have power over local communities? Meaning, there's 23 cities in Orange County, there's 88 in Los Angeles County. Can a city block you? Or do you know your authority that well at this time, or has state legislation been passed? Because when the state highway department comes in and builds a highway, ultimately they build it where they want to build it. They try to be sensitive, but they make the decision.
I think our goal is to work collaboratively and not get to the point where we're having to draw those straws. So the goal is to ensure that we have a project that is mutually beneficial for all of our entities, so that it's a win-win-win, both from the standpoint of having a strong regional transportation system, as well as whatever mitigations in place to address whatever impacts are in our communities.
Great. Well, thank you. And as I work here, and I want to thank you all for coming down. Thank you for coming down a little early, and let me pick you up and drive you around a little and show you Thunder
It was
Road.
very,
and all
very
that stuff.
fruitful. Thank you so much for doing that.
No, you betcha, and I think the other council members would gladly offer that at the time. The fact that you were on Transportation Committee and in the Ad hoc River Committee is important, but we have to keep the voice of communication, because this is a very, very, very big positive thing, but must be included in the process. Members, I thank you and ask, too, all those who will be on or near this system to be involved, have their deputies focus and make a relationship with any one of the members here of the California High-Speed Rail Authority. Thank you. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your work.
Thank you. We will put a roll on voting and filing this and tabulate the vote. Or is it a vote? Is it an action? Okay, we'll sit up on the reports. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item, Mr. President, is item number 20, and that was called special for cards.
Mr. Sachs, item number 20.
It's okay. It's a REAP again. And since the council took action last week to rehear concerns regarding the LA Marathon, and they sent it back to committee, I'm wondering when the council will take action and rehear concerns about the slum landlords and send that back to committee, to the Housing Committee, so that the penalties can be increased or meet the same standards that you have for a REAP program. How come housing owners and they're outside of the buildings are under such mass control of the city council and the standards that the city has, yet the insides of apartments are allowed to deteriorate into the conditions as they were noted in the LA Times story, and the owner of that property is allowed to miss and avoid penalties and judgments against him, although, he did have some judgments. In the 25 years, he's paid maybe $1,000. We need to have some action by the city council, maybe, and bring those slumlords into the same kind of standards that you have for your REAP program. Thank you.
Thank you. Any council members wishing to be heard on 20? If not, let's prepare the roll, and please tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next item is item
Mr. Sachs,
20.
I think you're on tap for 23. Come on down.
Before 23, you any chance of opening 25 again? 23, your special events. And since nobody is considering the fact or taking up the call to consider the fact that for religious purposes, I condemn these special events, then I have to assume that the special event regarding the LA Marathon wasn't actually done for the religious purposes as was stated in the council, but more or less done to appease Frank McCourt and his company that took over the LA Marathon and allow them to move the marathon to the Monday in February, and then
wake me up,
having the contract authorized to move it to the Monday in Memorial Day without having council take any action. Because religious is religion. And I've come before here so many times recently stating my objections to having special events on the weekend, because somehow, somebody in LA may be wanting to pray on a Saturday or Sunday, and there could be a special event interfering with their right to do so. And yet, council doesn't want to act on it. So then it must be the sham that was presented in the council here with the four religious leaders and their plea to change the LA Marathon, and it was actually done to appease the deep pockets as a usual byproduct of council action. Thank you.
I'll close our comments for this item. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. We now have Ms. Hahn, your item from yesterday's agenda.
Thank you. If I could have the Harbor Department come to the table, please. I have a few questions. Colleagues, this, I actually reconsidered this because it passed through on consent the other day, and I was out of the room at the time, and I understand it came through Personnel Committee. But I reconsidered this because I just wanted us to look at this. This is a new position that the Harbor Department is creating, and I believe the salary is over $200,000 annually. And I just had a few questions about whether or not this is the right time to be creating a new position at the Harbor Department when we just voted yesterday to begin laying off 400 people. We're in a very tough time right now, and I just feel like it is my responsibility to, ask a couple questions of you, Mike. Tell me, what position is this? What's the rationale right now in probably the worst economic times we've been suffering? Clearly, the Harbor Department complains all the time about decrease in revenue and projects that you're not being able to finish. So what's the rationale behind creating this new position? Hold my time, please.
Thank you, Council Member. I'm Michael Christensen, Deputy Executive Director of the Port of Los Angeles. Rest assured that at the Harbor Department we are very understanding of the need to save money. In fact, we're in the midst of finalizing our own budget, putting tremendous pressure on lowering our operating costs.
Could you raise the microphone just a little bit? I'm having a hard time.
With that said, we have entered an era at the Harbor Department where external affairs has become elevated through issues such as the implementation of our Clean Air Action Plan, our Clean Trucks program, both great programs, I believe, Councilwoman, that you've assisted us on wonderfully. And
so this position is to implement those programs?
It's to assist us in the implementation of those programs and others that are requiring a much more strategic focus. In the past, we've been a little more tactical in the way we've approached our external affairs. We now feel it's very important we become much more strategic. Quite a few months ago, we identified this need and we moved forward with it. What you're seeing now, I think, is the implementation of the new position. If we take that and add that to the stimulus funding that we're pursuing on several dozen different fronts for a lot of projects, we feel that this is a good time to move forward with that position. If this position gets us just one major clean truck grant, it will have paid for itself 10 times over. So we feel this is a good time.
Currently, who is applying for grants?
Currently, we're applying for quite a number of grants in a lot of different areas, both security grants, transportation infrastructure grants. We've just inputted our Safe TLU reauthorization requests, and then the broader stimulus.
And have we been
grants.
successful in the past of receiving some of these grants at the Port of Los Angeles?
We have been successful in receiving some of them in the security area particularly, but in the other areas we've not. For instance, the last Safe TLU, the last federal transportation program, we didn't get much in. We very much want to have more there.
Is that because we didn't have a certain person applying for it?
I think there were probably a lot of reasons, but one of those was probably not as much focus as we needed to, and strategic focus particularly.
Let me ask this question. Is the Harbor Department different than the other city departments where we're laying people off? Is the Harbor Department, have they laid off anybody, or are they planning to lay off anybody?
At this point, we're working on our budget. We've got, as the mayor has directed, a 10% reduction in our salary accounts in the budget we have going forward. We are implementing a managed hiring process, and we're looking at an actual
Have you laid off
reduction in
anybody?
people.
Have you laid off anybody up until this point?
We have not laid anyone off, no.
What about conductors on the red car?
The red car
personnel
contractor reduced forces because of a budget reduction in our contract with the red car, yes.
And you've reduced the service of the red car. I
That's
understand.
correct, yes.
And I've also understood you've reduced the hours of the fountain.
The Gateway Fountain, we changed hours, which was partly for seasonal reasons and partly because we were having a problem with equipment. We were running shows too quickly.
It's not a budget issue.
No, we haven't, Councilwoman. We have received some feedback on that from a number of people, including your office, and we are going to be taking a look
It's very
at
disappointing. I was
changing that.
Sunday, I took my grandchildren for a day in San Pedro. Very sorry to hear that the red car service had been cut in half. And then on a Sunday afternoon, with cruise ships in berths, people enjoying the beautiful weather, we were told that the fountain, was closed down between 1 and 4. So you spent $14 million to build a fountain, and now you're not operating it when I believe is a high peak tourist hours of the day.
We'll take a look at that weekend schedule. And like I said, we received feedback on that recently, and we'll see what we can do about that.
Now, do you honestly believe that there is no one else at the Harbor Department that has the capability to focus on applying for grants?
We have quite a number of people that are currently applying for the grants. I think this position is more, though, than just, as I say, the tactical part of the external affairs, which would be the grant applications and follow-through. This is more the strategic side. It's working at a higher level, and it's coordinating all of the grant work that the grant applications we're doing, and that's where we saw the need.
Let me go back to the layoffs. Don't give me percentage. Give me numbers of people that you expect to lay off as a result of the mayor's directive.
At the Harbor Department right now, we're not planning on layoffs per se. As I mentioned, we have a 10% reduction in our salary accounts. And
so you've got vacancies?
We have vacancies we've frozen, yes. We're waiting, of course, along with everyone else, to see where a potential early retirement program goes. We have over 100 people in the Harbor Department that would qualify for that. We also have the ability, because we generally will attrit about 8% per year, to reduce forces through attrition. So between those means, we think we can get to the 10% without layoffs. So at this point, they're not on the table for Harbor Department.
That's good news. But I wish to tell you, and I know my time's up, but I always will tell you, and I will say this to my colleagues, this doesn't seem right to me. And I've got constituents in Wilmington and San Pedro who have felt like the Port of Los Angeles has reneged on many of their promises for developing the waterfront because of budget issues. And I have nonprofits in the community who have been told by the Port of Los Angeles that they will no longer sponsor their events. They have reneged on a promise to the Boys and Girls Club of the Harbor area based on budget. I've probably heard from the Harbor Department more in my lately than in 7.5 years as a councilwoman that you cannot continue your commitments based on the budget. And in my opinion, nothing's going to turn around the Port of Los Angeles more than the economy. Once the economy changes, that money's going to start flowing in. So hiring somebody at $200,000 a year to just focus you, I have a hard time with right now, and I think my constituents would back me up in asking these questions today and questioning the wisdom of, at this point in our fiscal crisis, that the Harbor Department is creating a new position and paying that person $200,000 a year. So I don't know if anybody else has some questions.
Mr. Zahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. This matter was heard in committee with the general manager, and some of the questions that were raised were a reorganization of the port. The operations of the port were going to be reorganized. One of the issues regarding salary, the salary ranged from the 180s up to the 200s. Have they pegged on the salary level? There was a high and a low. Have they decided what it's going to be yet?
Yes, Council Member, it's this particular position would come in at 205.
Because we were told, or given the impression it was going to be in the 180 category. There were the parameters between the low end and the high end. Also, are there any vacancies at the harbor at this time?
There are quite a number of vacancies, yes, sir.
And the issue regarding this particular position, outreach to the community, outreach to the revitalization of the restaurant environment, or is it just strictly for the commerce portion of the port?
This position would cover both our governmental affairs and our public relations group, so it would be both the governmental and public relations.
Now, as far as governmental affairs, do you have representatives in Sacramento and Washington, D.C.?
No, sir. We utilize the mayor's representatives in those locations.
So what will this representative do if you're using their mayor's representatives in D.C.? Because we know that we have Mr. Seeley and his staff in Washington, and we have representatives in Sacramento. So what would this representative do with the other representatives already paid to do the lobbying in Washington and Sacramento?
Would help to focus the efforts on harbor-specific issues such as clean truck issues in Washington, legislative efforts related to clean truck program, and so on.
And the issue of the renovation, I've been to the port a few times recently, and it is, maybe the commerce is fine, but as far as appeal for public to go visit, there is no appeal. The restaurants are either shabby or run down or non-existent, and I go to Port Sacal in the Marina del Rey, where they have a nice environment where people frequent on the warm, sunny days. Will this individual have anything to do with revamping? As I understand, we approved something months ago to revamp that area for the public, so they would have a destination point other than the cargo ships or the passenger ships that travel in and out?
The renovation and the improvement of the LA waterfront would not fall directly under this position, though the public affairs or outreach part would. The environmental impact report for the LA waterfront will be coming this summer in two pieces, one for Wilmington, one for San Pedro, and that will carry that project forward.
4 years later, will this person be responsible to supervise any employees of the Harbor Department?
Yes, sir.
How many?
I don't have an exact figure. I'll have to get back to you. I would guess it's probably in the neighborhood of 30 to 40.
And those 30 or 40 are assigned what duties now?
Again, in the areas of public relations, governmental affairs.
So if they have 30 to 40 people assigned to that activity, who leads that now? Who supervises that? Who's in charge of that?
We have one director of governmental relations and another director of public affairs, two separate.
So what happens with those positions?
They fall in under this new position. They would both report directly to this person.
And their salary range?
I'm afraid I don't have that information right now. Those two positions are in the category of second deputy general manager presently.
Over 100,000?
Yes, they're over 100,000.
And this is going to be $205,000?
Correct.
I'm disappointed in that it's the high end of what we were led to believe it would be in the 180 category when we discussed this at Personnel Committee. And I know money is a precious resource at this particular time. So what I think we need to do is analyze this and maybe get a report back, Ms. Hahn, from the Harbor Department exactly what this individual will be doing and what progress has been made in some of the renovations that we've been promised with the port, so we can actually justify the particular position in our minds. And I know Ms. Hahn is concerned with what happens in the harbor, and we're all concerned about what happens with the city. So if we can figure out, are we getting the message across that we want to revitalize the area for the tourists, a destination point, and what exactly is being accomplished, other than another position being established with a salary of $205,000. So, Ms. Hahn, would you say a 6 months report back to figure out where we're at with this? I think if we don't get a report back, it's going to go up in smoke like everything else.
Actually what I'd like to have happen, apparently we've been told this is the last day to act. or it becomes automatic, which I hate. I hate, particularly, again, in this fiscal crisis. I would like us to vote no on this today and have the mayor start the process over so we can get a report back, find out more information, and have a lot of our questions answered about this position. Again, knowing the outstanding money that the port owes nonprofit groups in town, knowing their stoppage of projects that they have claimed it's the budget, I think we need more information on this position. So I would ask us to vote no on this item and start the process over, and let's do it right.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl.
This is a last day. This is a last day matter. So if we vote no, Mr. City Attorney, Madam Clerk, can you give us?
I believe you should do a substitute motion to disapprove this, and then vote on the disapproval, and then it would go back, and the mayor would start, the time would start over.
Yeah,
I would defer to Ms. Hahn on this matter since it is her district.
yeah, I think that my constituents would appreciate it if we
Thank
got
you,
more
Ms. Hahn.
information.
We have you back on, but in a second, Mr. Rosendahl and Mr. Labange for the first time. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a very interesting discussion we're in right now. I'd like the mayor's rep to come up and explain the process that the mayor's office went through, why the mayor's office is making this something for us to decide today. I'd like to get a better understanding from the mayor's people.
Hi, Diego Alvarez, the Deputy Mayor for Legislative Affairs. And can't really speak specifically to the process because the hiring process was on the port side, but I could talk a little bit about sort of what the need is for this position. And as you guys know, we have been embarking on a series of what I would call important and leading initiatives at the port, including the Green Trucks program, including many issues with the community over sensitive EIRs that have come through recently. And there's an important piece of work with the labor community and the environmental community and the surrounding community and the business community who are clients of the port, that those stakeholders need to be, relationships need to be developed with them. And this position is sort of in taking on much of the external affairs will help keep everybody at the table and help all of these initiatives move forward.
Let me ask you this, what kind of salary are we talking about? Compensation package? What's the structure? What's the support staff? How does this fit in within the port's mandate? Hold my time.
Councilman Rosendahl, I think it had been mentioned the salary is $205,000. $205,000 coming in. There's no additional support staff.
More than we make.
No additional support staff needed because this position will supervise 2 existing divisions within the Harbor Department. So the support staff is already there for this position.
Is this something Dr. Natz was enthused about, or I mean, how did? Because it's the first time I'm hearing it. Frankly, is in this process here right now. We have a committee that I sit on that has the harbor on it, and Ms. Hahn takes a deep interest in the harbor and all that. And I'm just wondering, at this moment, especially when we're laying people off. Yesterday, 400 potential people are going to lose their jobs. We could lose potentially thousands of people. Not that it's a proprietary department. I know it has its own thing, but we want everybody to share the pain, share the da-da-da-da. So explain that part for me.
I would just like to say, I think there are so many things that are happening now at the port that the councilwoman and TCT have been involved on from a policy side that really will pave the way for where the port goes in the future. And it's a very critical time. I mean, we are looking and implementing the Clean Trucks program. You guys know that we have been working through some legal issues and some issues with the Federal Maritime Commission and implementing that plan. And having or the existence of a Green Trucks program is very important to all of the stakeholders that care about the port. And we really want somebody there. That's just one example of a pivotal piece of policy, a pivotal program that's being implemented where we need someone who's focused on those issues all of the time. And then there is also the business of managing the port day to day, which is something that that the general manager is, Geraldine, the director, is excellent at. But all of these regulatory issues, we are on the cutting edge of many federal laws and many state issues that we have, always with Tidelands Trust, for instance, which restricts our ability to use ports for community remediations. And we want to be able to get some more flexibility, and we're wanting to push the envelope, so it makes sense to have somebody there who can full-time, in a constructive, comprehensive, and strategic way, push those boundaries.
And I think to answer your question, Councilmember, Dr. Nats and the entire senior team is behind this move. The workload issue, because of the items that Diego mentioned on the existing second deputy general managers is extreme. The items in Washington, D.C., both in terms of litigation-driven and also funding-driven, are 2 or 3 notches up from where they were a year ago. So we're very much behind this.
Okay. It was just that it's coming at us and didn't go through the committee, and we didn't hear all kinds of discussions on it.
It went through personnel, I believe.
Well, I know, but the harbor's the harbor, and it's something that we play a major role in. In fact, I'm impressed with Ms. Hahn's leadership on the harbor a lot. I've sat next to her for 3 years on that committee and have watched that dynamism. So I think it's an insult to that committee that the process itself wasn't even brought before it.
We don't set forth the referral process, but let me just, again, going back, this is very similar to a position that was created at the airport in the last year, where there's been a consolidation of external affairs, including community and public relations and government relations. And, I believe that having that position has been helpful for the committee as it's looked at airport master plan issues.
Okay, well, thank you. I needed some information. I was pretty ignorant on the whole subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. LaBonge is our next speaker.
Now, Ms. Hahn, I just want to say this too, because I know I want to support you, okay, 1,000%, because you're very concerned. I got that. I apologize for saying I got that. I just understand this system that we have here. There's a charter that changed that allowed us to create civil service exempt positions, correct?
That's
and
correct.
That is a lot. How many exempt positions are at the Port of Los Angeles?
I'm afraid I don't have that figure, Councilmember.
But it's somewhere between 7 to 17 or something. I know water power's somewhere under 20. Do you know that, Mr. Zine?
The permitted number's 150 in the city. We're at 107 if this is permitted.
107?
This will take us to 107 if this position is approved.
I support that aspect of the administration of the city to have these positions there. Now, what I'm concerned about is what Mr. Zine said. Mr. Zine, you're the chairman of the committee, and you spoke about the salary, and I have no problem with the salary, but the salary is different from what you had under your committee, which went through your committee.
The numbers that I wrote down, 183 to 228. That was the numbers we were given, 183 to 228. We've been informed today it's set at 205. I thought it was going to be at the 183, but those are the parameters that were discussed, and I wrote them down at the time.
I left the city service once and went to a proprietary department, and they do, Mr. Rosendahl, compensate people at a higher level, higher than the council. That's what happens. I got that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that, but I have a problem with the councilwoman not getting the information necessary to make a decision. It's just like if something happened in the park system, but I'm chair of the Arts and Parks Committee, not having that information. So I need some guidance from the CLA or whomever on this to give us the options to... I need some, so just to know. But Mr. I don't have the information. You got the information. So I'm going to ask the CLA if a box here, if he wants to come to the center table, or whomever, Mr. Miller. Okay, I ask to support Ms. Hahn. I ask to support Ms. Hahn right now because no one's coming to the table. Support Ms. Hahn. Thank you, Mr. President.
Our next speaker is Ms. Hahn for a second time, and then Mr.
Thank you. I just want to find out what it is that we need to do here today, because, again, I'm asking for us to deny this position and what do we need to do to make that happen? Verbally make a verbal motion?
Yes, Councilmember Hahn, you can make a verbal motion that would be a substitute to the committee reports that are before you, and you can move to disapprove the mayor's appointment, or the mayor, this civil service exemption.
I'd be much, again, more willing to approve a position that actually sped along the waterfront development, the redevelopment of Port Sakal, I'd rather have a strategic person with the nonprofits in town that have depended on money from the Harbor Department and are now being kicked to the side. I'd be much more willing to support someone who really was looking after the community's interest in making sure that they had access to the waterfront than someone who was just going to be supervising people and strategizing on what I think we're already doing. We're lobbying for money. Your Congress members are lobbying for money. We've got people that are looking out for those needs. But some of the other things have fallen by the wayside. And on the port's own admission, it's because of the budget. So this $200,000 could go to pay back the Boys and Girls Club, which, have a commitment from the port, which they're reneging on. So I just don't think this is the right time to do this. So I'd ask for your support in denying this position. If we want to do it again, if the mayor would like to start the process over, I think there's a lot more things that we would like to get information on and hear about some of the other budget issues that I would rather be satisfied on before I can support a brand-new position at the Harbor Department.
Is there a second to Ms. Hahn's motion?
Mr. Zion seconds. Mr. Weezer is our next speaker.
Thank you very much. And, this is all new to me. I was just sitting here listening, and, there might be a reason why this position is being created, and Ms. Hahn at the same time may have some valid concerns about this, but I don't think I'm in a position right now to have full information as to whether we should say yes or no to this, because there's a reason why the general manager is making this decision. There's a reason why Councilwoman Hahn has concerns about this, and Councilwoman Hahn spends a lot of time in this with this department in this area. I would rather continue this, and so we could have a more informed discussion, because for me to make this decision like this off the cuff, just listening to what I heard today, I don't think I would be in a position to make the right choice, because I would like to get a better explanation from the general manager about this position, and then, better vet out the concerns that Ms. Hahn has laid out. So I understand the little I heard here today about the importance of this position and the reason to go forward, but to ask me to make a decision about whether we should create a position where we want to more strategically look at our stimulus dollars and how they can be spent at the harbor, and then hearing some concerns about why not in this short time here is, we didn't get prepared for this. We didn't get information. We didn't get the documents. And so I would just ask that we continue this item. We can't continue this item. Why not?
Just as a point of clarification, we either reject this today, or if we continue it tomorrow, it becomes... If the vote does not receive 10 votes today, or we move to continue and have no action today, it will become official tomorrow because of the time expiration. So it's either rejected by 10 people today and sent back, or this will move forward.
Okay.
So there's no continuance that we could do unless it was later in this meeting, but this is our last item in the meeting. Too.
Got it. Got the clarification. Thank you.
Ms. Gruhl is our next speaker. Point of clarification? Yep.
Just a point of order. If today's the last day for action, if we don't act, it gets approved.
Correct.
For us to stop it, how many votes would...
10 votes to say no, to reject.
Why 10?
It's in a charter written as such.
I see. Thank you.
Ms. Gruhl.
I have some questions, because I'm not sure as we go forward in positions, and particularly proprietary departments, that we engage in who the person is. I think it's more about the position that is there. So I think, although I think Ms. Hahn, you mentioned there were, that you want a person who has these kinds of responsibilities or different things. My issue is it went to committee, and there was a discussion. And now we're at the last day. I feel the same way that Mr. Weezer does. We're kind of caught in a position because it's been, did it go before the commission?
Yes, it did. Yes, as part of our budget process, yes.
Yeah. And it went to your committee, how long ago?
April 29th? April 29th.
So, a week ago, that it came to the committee. Because I don't know the position. Well, it's been, I mean, I understand your concerns, Ms. Hahn, but it's been a public, this position has been noticed, it's been in the paper, it's been on the agenda, and all of a sudden, okay, all I'm saying is today is the last, until you spoke up today, none of us heard that this is a problem. So, you know, I don't know if this individual has quit their job, whatever, the justification, but I think we're engaging in an item that I have concern about just today, that we only have one option, which is to deny it when it's gone to committee. I understand the process, Ms. Hahn. All I am saying is that we have known about this for 2 weeks, at least 3 weeks, 4 weeks. When was the announcement that the port made about this position, or the article in the paper?
Last budget.
It matters because we're waiting on the last day. We approved it yesterday. Did we not?
Oh, we considered it.
I know, but we approved it.
I tried to continue the week, but they told me we couldn't.
Okay, so we approved it yesterday. Right? We have the authority to
Initially,
reconsider
it was, yes.
It was. That's all I'm saying is that if we have questions, I have no problem with us asking questions, but now we're between a rock and a hard place when we had, whether it was yesterday or last week or 2 weeks ago, to do this. Now, if our interest is to bring more money to the port, and that's what we're trying to do. Now, one option is that the commission take another action and it come back to us, that we deny and we ask the commission to come back. Is that correct?
It's the mayor, not the commission.
It's the mayor, not the commission.
Yeah.
So,
Communication from the mayor.
The commission deals with a budget that covers this position, but not the position itself.
not the who selected for that position.
Correct.
Okay. So the mayor could send a separate letter to us.
Madam Clerk, or Mr. City Attorney? Yes.
Okay.
This is as an exception pursuant to the Charter, Section 1001, subsection B.
Show off.
He's reading that note.
He gets the charter.
I was cramming.
So if the council chooses to deny today, the next step would be, if there are people around this room that say, we don't feel comfortable, as Mr. Weisar did, just saying deny and it never coming back to us.
Starts
Correct?
over. Starts over.
It starts over, so they could send a letter by tomorrow.
Ask more questions.
I pushed I'm over time.
Madam Perry. Question has been called. Not everybody who wants to speak twice has spoken, so that is
Can I make a point of clarification?
once the question is, point of
Just
clarification.
A point of clarification.
But truly a point of clarification.
Truly a point of clarification. It was well noted that it wouldn't be approved until it came to the council.
That's not a point.
Yes, it is.
No,
That it wasn't the committee, that it would be before the council. And I will state
Mr.
for the
Zion, you have
matter.
to rule. You're right, you're clarifying something, but under Robert's rules, that's not a clarification of...
Well, it is
what's before us.
because
I'm sorry, so
the
we have
issue
before us...
was raised about
Mr. Zion,
someone selected.
if you could...
Can we vote on whether...
Hold on. We have to vote first, and and you can vote against it if it's a 10-person vote, because not everybody's spoken for 2 times, including Mr. Zion, to close debate. Moving the question, this is just to end debate, okay? Requires 10 ayes to end debate. A no means you don't want to end debate. And I would allow Mr. Zion to ask that question, or anybody else to speak.
End debate and then vote.
Please open the roll. Close the roll. And tabulate the vote.
13 ayes, 1 no.
Ms. Gruhl believed in your right to free speech, but unfortunately, the rest of it failed. So that means debate is ended now. We have the motion. So what we have before us is first we have to vote on whether to substitute.
Oh, okay.
So to vote, and then if it is substituted, then whether to vote aye on rejecting. An aye vote then, if we substitute, would be to reject. So first is whether or not to substitute what is before us with Ms. Hahn's motion. That is whether to substitute. It's not the final vote to reject. Sure. Mr. Weiser?
Impact of voting yes or no. So if we vote to substitute, then we're going to vote on...
Right. Voting to substitute has no impact.
I got it. And then if we approve the substitute, it's going to be denied
Correct.
And then what does that leave the general manager with to decide? What's the
And
next
start the process again. It's like when we 245 something, if we reject it, it's sent back essentially.
They'll
It's
start the
rejected.
process again.
If they want to, they can start the process right now. Okay? All right, so this is on to substitute. Please open the roll on substituting the motion, the roll. Open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, that has been substituted, so now before us is whether or not to reject this or not. An aye vote is yes to reject, a no vote is to not reject and to move the appointment forward.
Clarification. This
Yes.
is not on a particular individual. It's
No.
on the position itself and the funding.
Right, at this time, right. And
Right?
we can-
It's
right.
not,
on the
there's no
civil service
individual been named.
exemption.
It's just a
No,
position.
right.
They can start the process over again, but it assumes that there is a person already in place.
Right.
Correct.
Let's leave- yeah.
So there is a person in place, so it
Not according to the notes.
so it essentially says, do not accept this person, but go find another person to do this.
No, it's a position,
No, it's just on the position.
not a person.
They can fill that position once it's exempt, because it's exempt with whom they would like, but this just rejects the position.
After we approve it, then they can do it.
Right, right.
Okay? Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay? We'll
And
start the
Mr. President,
process.
would you like to receive and file the Personnel Committee
This will
report?
move to receive and file Mr. Zion's earlier report. Without objection, so ordered. Okay, next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Council President Garcetti requests to be excused May 12th, 13th, and 15th, 19th, 20th, and 22nd for personal business. A motion is required on the 20th and 22nd.
All right, I'll move that. Ms. Gruhl seconds. Those excuses are granted. Any other excuses?
Councilmember Rosendahl requests to be excused on Friday, May 22nd, for personal business that meets council policy.
Okay, he's excused.
And that clears the desk.
Mr. Wesson?
Meant somebody left a set of keys.
Those are mine, Mr. Wesson.
Okay, see?
Yesterday, upstairs?
Well, no, they're right here.
Oh, that's where they went. Thank you, Mr. Wesson.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then it's my
Are they
pleasure
to a Honda?
to locate the
Thank you very much.
the president's keys.
Okay, if we can send 15 forthwith, please, without objection. Okay, next order of business, or next excuse?
The desk is clear.
Any announcements, colleagues? Mr. Parks, you want to announce how late you went yesterday?
What's that?
We have a special 2 now. Colleagues, don't go anywhere. We need to make sure we still have a quorum, colleagues. There's been a special item introduced. Can we call the roll, Madam Clerk, to see who's here?
Mr. Alacon? Ms. Gruhl? Ms. Hahn? Mr. Weezer? Ms. Hugh? Mr. Labange? Mr. Parks? Ms. Perry?
We got 10.
We got 10.
Yeah, we have 10. And we'll see if Mr. Alacon's here. Okay. I don't have the special before me. Does anybody have the special before? Yes.
Just came in.
All right,
Just came in the last...
Ms. Perry, on the findings, do you want to
the
make
findings are-
the findings?
This is a career day for the Los Angeles Unified School District. Just came to me about 30 minutes ago, and the event is tomorrow. LAUSD Career Day.
Anybody else on the findings? If not, let's prepare the roll on the findings and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
As before us, on substance, anybody? If not, let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Special 2 is approved. Okay? Thank you. We'll send that forthwith without objection. Next order of business?
Announcement.
Mr. Parks on announcements?
Jan Hahn's going to let me make an announcement. Just to let everybody know that we finished the budget deliberations last evening, late. But we'll have the next meeting will be at 1 o'clock on Tuesday. I'd encourage all of you to be there, have your staffs. You'll get a preview of what the CLA's report will contain, which you'll then get for the Friday agenda, and then the following Monday, we'll have it at council for the full day. But Tuesday's important just to get the text and the context of what's been discussed and what the report will reflect.
Thank you very much. Other announcements? If not, do we have adjourning motions today? If I can ask everybody, please rise in council chambers for our adjourning motions. I'd like to start with Mr. LaBonge.
Members, I'd like to ask you to adjourn in memory of a Los Angeles native, Jack Kemp, United States Congressman. Jack Kemp was born in Los Angeles. His family was in business in Los Angeles, lived the trucking business, went to Fairfax High School, then later went to Occidental College. At Occidental College, tried to make a National Football League, was not able to make the league at that time, but played in Canada, then later came and signed with the fledgling American Football League with the San Diego Chargers when they were in Los Angeles, called the Los Angeles Chargers. A great football career, which taught him a lot of great values, but also then when retired in Buffalo from his playing career, ran for Congress, was elected, served 9 terms. He truly was a dynamic individual who I believe, and I look at Mr. Zion, the only Republican in the room, I think right now, I don't know everybody's party, but he was a compassionate Republican who really cared about people. And he was a great friend of the city of Los Angeles, which is so important. He's survived by his wife Joanne and their 4 children. I ask we all adjourn in memory of Jack Kemp, United States Congressman.
Yes, all members, and Ms. Hahn.
Yeah, and I really appreciate us doing this. I had some great dealings with Jack Kemp when he was in the administration, and he became almost as big of a supporter of Habitat for Humanity as former President Jimmy Carter was, and he really helped move Habitat for Humanity projects forward all across this country. I was with him on several occasions in Los Angeles when we were doing projects here in Los Angeles for Habitat for Humanity, and I loved it that he saw the importance of that particular brand of affordable housing in the country, and so I really loved being with him a couple times in Los Angeles as we built homes here, but he was a great American and really was able to discern the greatest needs of Americans in this country, and that was for decent housing.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes as well on that.
Wanted to add, I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Kemp in the 90s when he was working with the federal government and moving these policies, and about 5 years ago, he came into my office and we had this discussion about some project he wanted to work on that dealt with community development. He left me a really cool football with his name on it, talking about being a quarterback, and very, very humble man, very direct, and never forgot where he came from. So I'm glad we're acknowledging him today.
Thank you. Any other members on Mr. Kemp? Not Mr. LaBonge, you have another one?
It's heard in memory of Dom DeLuise, who was a great comedic actor, a great special man. I met him when believe it or not, when I was shuttling cars for Gibraltar College in 1973.
We believe it.
Drive his car to him. You knew him, Eric, as well.
Yeah, he was at the San Gennaro.
That's right. St. Gennaro Festival was a very special individual, Dom DeLuise.
I'd like to second that. Thank you. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Glenn Bale, a former high school football coach who guided Dorsey High School to city championships in the 1980s. He taught for nearly 40 years in Southern California schools. He passed away on Monday at Pomona Valley Hospital Medical Center from a heart attack. He was only 61. What's unfortunate is he passed away on the first day of his retirement. He recently taught health, life skills at Santee Educational Complex in South LA. 2005, he started the school's football program and also coached boys and girls tennis. In '82, he led Dorsey to the Los Angeles City Championship 3A. At Dorsey, he was one of the first coaches to enact the C average and no-fail rule, instituting daily attendance, checks, and study halls. He wanted to set the standards very high, and average, he said, was unacceptable. During his 35 years of coaching, He's overseen football programs at Manual, Palisades, and also coached tennis and softball. In 1990, he helped Camp Kilpatrick, the L.A. County Juvenile Detention Facility in Malibu, transition from playing 8-man football to 11-man. Last year, he received the California Interscholastic Federation Model Coach Award, given to coaches who are positive role models for their schools and communities. He was born January 17, 1948, in Los Angeles, attended Manual, played football, and was a student leader. He also played football at East LA Community College and Whittier College, earned his bachelor's degree in physical education in 1970. He's survived by his wife and 2 daughters and a host of other family members.
Second from Ms. Berry.
This coach was a truly remarkable individual, and leading also Dorsey back to its prominence, which former post coaches have continued in that. Coach Bell, and what a special man. Every day's a blessing, but to die on the first day of his retirement means God really needs a great coach in heaven.
Ms. Berry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It's a special honor to adjourn in the memory of Dr. Frederick Eugene Alexander, and I think some of you may want to add your names to this. Dr. Alexander passed away on April the 26th at the age of 69. He was born on June 20th, 1939, in Los Angeles to Herschel Alexander and Ethel Alexander, and was raised along with his sisters, Vicki and Roberta, on a farm in Paris, California. He graduated from Manual Arts High School and was active with the swim and football team. He then graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo with an ABS degree in agronomy, soil science, and worked for 15 years as a soil scientist with the Velsical Chemical Company. In 1959, Dr. Martin Luther King reintroduced Fred to Althea Sims at a Quaker meeting. Dr. King was instrumental in encouraging the young couple, and they married at a Unitarian church in downtown Los Angeles shortly after this reintroduction. At the age of 33, Dr. Alexander entered medical school, inspired by the disparity he saw in South Los Angeles. He was accepted to medical school at UC Irvine and later transferred to the University of Southern California, where he completed his studies. Following an internship at County USC, he finished his residency at Kaiser Permanente, West Los Angeles, where he remained for the rest of his career, and this is how some of you may know him. Uniformly loved by his patients, Dr. Alexander was known by his colleagues as an outstanding clinician. Of his many achievements, Dr. Alexander was most proud of the care he provided as a practicing physician and the many lessons about humility and understanding that his patients taught him. He went on to become chief of internal medicine and later the first African-American medical director in the program. During his tenure as medical director, Dr. Alexander actively promoted diversity, mentoring generations of medical students of color, and championing culturally competent care. He was instrumental in leading West LA's effort to create a regional center of excellence for sickle cell disease, which was nationally recognized. He and his wife, Dean Althea Alexander, at the University of Southern California School of Medicine, worked tirelessly for 30 years to attract and support minority students through the demands of medical training that are now serving as physicians around the country. Dr. Alexander and his wife, Althea Dean Alexander, enjoyed traveling to the 2008 Olympics in China together. He was very proud and overjoyed to be a part of the inauguration for this country's first African-American president, whom he had met several years prior. He is survived by his wife, Althea, his 2 sisters, Vicki and Roberta, his son, Sean, his daughter, Kim, and grandchildren, Lauren and Danielle. And the family kindly requests donations be made to the Dr. Frederick E. Alexander Kaiser Scholarship Fund, care of Michael Seymour, Office of Development, USC Keck School of Medicine at 1975 Zonal Avenue, room 300, and that's Los Angeles 90033.
Thank you. Do all members on that? Yeah.
Mr. Reyes suggested that all members go
Yes.
on.
I said that. Yep. Mr. Reyes.
Let's adjourn in the memory of Nola Mott humble, hardworking, intelligent, fearless. These are words that many people would use to describe Nola Mott, as she dedicated so many years of her life to making Westlake a better neighborhood. This past Saturday, May 2nd, Nola Mott passed away after a long illness. When the Westlake area led the city in Part 1 crimes back in the 1990s, Nola Mott, along with other community leaders, swept the streets, organized community meetings, and fought for a community garden. The fact that the vacant lot that would become the community garden was full of drug dealers did not deter her, it motivated her. She was also a strong advocate for parole reform and affordable housing. For many years, she was part of a housing cooperative within this same neighborhood. Many of the physical improvements in the Westlake are the result of her dedication, including new streetlights, new sidewalks, and of course, the new Rampart Police Station. Many of us will miss Nola Mott, but like the spring aroma of the roses she planted in her beloved community garden, her presence will linger in the neighborhood for many years to come. On behalf of the families of the 1st Council District, thank you, Nola Mott. Rest in peace.
Thank you. Any other adjourning motions, colleagues? If not, we'll next be in session this Friday. That is on the 8th of May, here in the John Farrell Council Chambers in City Hall. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. This meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is adjourned. We will see you on Friday. Have a great rest of the day and a Thursday.
City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
We now join our scheduled program in progress.
Neighborhood Council. Please call the Department of Neighborhood Councils toll free at 866-LA-HELPS. That's 866-524-3577. If you need more information about how you can get involved with your community's neighborhood council, please call the Department of Neighborhood Councils toll free at 866-LA-HELPS. That's 866-524-3577. You're watching Neighborhood Council's calendar of events. Brought to you by LA City View Channel 35 and the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Airing Monday through Friday at 8 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m., and 11 p.m. Neighborhood Council's calendar of events provides the latest information about meetings and events sponsored by all neighborhood councils throughout Los Angeles. Information listed on this service may be subject to change without prior notice, so please call the contact phone number listed for the meeting to confirm the event. If you need more information about how you can get involved with your community's neighborhood council, please call the Department of Neighborhood Councils toll free at 866-LA-HELPS. That's 866-524-3577. If you need more information about how you can get involved with your community's neighborhood council, please call the Department of Neighborhood Councils toll free at 866-LA-HELPS. That's 866-524-3577. If you need more information about how you can get involved with your community's neighborhood council, please call the Department of Neighborhood Councils toll free at 866-LA-HELPS. That's 866-524-3577. It's toll-free at 866-LA-HELPS. That's 866-524-3577.
You're watching Adopt a Friend for Life, presented by City of Los Angeles, LA City View 35, and Animal Service Department. Adopting an animal is a wonderful way to add a new family member to your home. When thinking about adopting an animal, please remember to plan ahead and consider your lifestyle. It's important to consider your lifestyle to make sure you, your family, and your new pet are happy. Here are some questions to ask. How large an animal is right for your home? Do you have a yard for a large dog or a patio for a smaller animal? How active an animal do you want? Do you want an active dog or a sedentary cat? How much time do you have to care for an animal? Do you want an animal with short hair or one with longer hair? How often do you go out of town? Who will care for the animal while you're away? Do you have small children or older ones who will be involved in the care of your animal? Remember, responsible pet ownership means you will have the time to care for and socialize with your animal. It means that you're willing to make the commitment to care for your new family member. Adopting a dog means a commitment anywhere from 10 to 16 years. Adopting a cat means a commitment anywhere from 15 to 20 years. If you see an animal you'd like to adopt, please write down the animal's impound number and immediately call the number on your screen to make sure the animal is still available. Remember, the sooner you call and go to your animal shelter, the greater the chance you'll be able to adopt that animal. Adoption fees vary. All adoption fees include vaccinations, physical examination, spaying or neutering, and license registration. Your animal will also receive its first medical examination free when you bring it to a member of the Southern California Veterinary Association. Simply bring in your animal within 3 days from the date of adoption and present your adoption receipt. All dogs and cats 8 weeks or older must be surgically sterilized before you can take them home. Spaying or neutering ensures your pet will live a longer and healthier life and will not be a safety and financial burden to your community. If your adopted animal is already sterilized, you may immediately take the animal home after completing the adoption process. If your adopted animal is not sterilized, LA Animal Services will transport your pet to a private veterinarian for a physical examination and sterilization. The veterinarian will contact you prior to surgery to discuss any medical concerns, additional related fees, and other options. Once spayed or neutered, you must go to the veterinary clinic to pick up your pet. We hope you find an animal compatible with your lifestyle. Enrich your life with an animal from a city shelter, and you'll know you also saved a life. By City of Los Angeles, LA City View 35, and Animal Service Department. Adopting an animal is a wonderful way to add a new family member to your home. When thinking about adopting an animal, please remember to plan ahead and consider your lifestyle. It's important to consider your lifestyle to make sure you, your family, and your new pet are happy. Here are some questions to ask. How large an animal is right for your home? Do you have a yard for a large dog or a patio for a smaller animal? How active an animal do you want? Do you want an active dog or a sedentary cat? How much time do you have to care for an animal? Do you want an animal with short hair or one with longer hair? How often do you go out of town? Who will care for the animal while you're away? Do you have small children or older ones who will be involved in the care of your animal? Remember, responsible pet ownership means you will have the time to care for and socialize with your animal. It means that you're willing to make the commitment commitment to care for your new family member. Adopting a dog means a commitment anywhere from 10 to 16 years. Adopting a cat means a commitment anywhere from 15 to 20 years. If you see an animal you'd like to adopt, write down the animal's impound number and immediately call the number on your screen to make sure the animal is still available. Remember, the sooner you call and go to your animal shelter, the greater the chance you'll be able to adopt that animal. Adoption fees vary. All adoption fees include vaccinations, physical examination, spaying or neutering, and license registration. Your animal will also receive its first medical examination free when you bring it to a member of the Southern California Veterinary Association. Simply bring in your animal within 3 days from the date of adoption and present your adoption receipt. All dogs and cats 8 weeks or older must be surgically sterilized before you can take them home. Spaying or neutering ensures your pet will live a longer and healthier life and will not be a safety and financial burden to your community. If your adopted animal is already sterilized, you may immediately take the animal home after completing the adoption process. If your adopted animal is not sterilized, LA Animal Services will transport your pet to a private veterinarian for a physical examination and sterilization. The veterinarian will contact you prior to surgery to discuss any medical concerns, additional related fees, and other options. Once spayed or neutered, you must go to the veterinary clinic to pick up your pet. We hope you find an animal compatible with your lifestyle. You're watching Crime Watch, brought to you by the City of Los Angeles Police Department and LA's CityView 35. The City of Los Angeles is offering the following rewards for information leading to the identity, arrest, and prosecution of the person or persons responsible for committing the crime. The deadline for each reward is seen on your screen, accompanied by the phone number and the detective handling the case. Basic information about the victim and the crime, such as date and place, is stated. However, complete information surrounding the crime may be only discussed on the phone with the detective assigned to the case. If you have any information that might assist the LAPD in solving this crime, you're urged to contact the number on your screen. Each investigation is filed under a number which is also on your screen. You will need to refer to this number when calling the detectives with your information. If you wish to provide anonymous tips regarding a crime that you may have information about, please call the number on your screen. However, anonymous witnesses will not receive the award. You're watching Crime Watch, brought to you by the City of Los Angeles Police Department and LA's CityView 35. The City of Los Angeles is offering the following rewards for information leading to the identity, arrest, and prosecution of the person or persons responsible for committing the crime. The deadline for each reward is seen on your screen, accompanied by the phone number and the detective handling the case. Basic information about the victim and the crime, such as date and place, is stated. However, complete information surrounding the crime may be only discussed on the phone with the detective assigned to the case. If you have any information that might assist the LAPD in solving this crime, you are urged to contact the number on your screen. Each investigation is filed under a number which is also on your screen. You will need to refer to this number when calling the detectives with your information. If you wish to provide anonymous tips regarding a crime that you may have information about, please call the number on your screen. However, anonymous witnesses will not receive the award. The deadline for each reward is seen on your screen, accompanied by the phone number and the detective handling the case. Basic information about the victim and the crime, such as date and place, is stated. However, complete information surrounding the crime may be only discussed on the phone with the detective assigned to the case. If you have any information that might assist the LAPD in solving this crime, you are urged to contact the number on your screen. Each investigation is filed under a number which is also on your screen. You will need to refer to this number when calling the detectives with your information. If you wish to provide anonymous tips regarding a crime that you may have information about, please call the number on your screen. However, anonymous witnesses will not receive the award. You're watching Crime Watch, brought to you by the City of Los Angeles Police Department and LA City View 35. The City of Los Angeles is offering the following rewards for information leading to the identity, arrest, and prosecution of the person or persons responsible for committing the crime. The deadline for each reward is seen on your screen, accompanied by the phone number and the detective handling the case. Basic information about the victim and the crime, such as date and place, is stated. However, complete information surrounding the crime may be only discussed on the phone with the detective assigned to the case. If you have any information that might assist the LAPD in solving this crime, you are urged to contact the number on your screen. Each investigation is filed under a number which is also on your screen. You will need to refer to this number when calling the detectives with your information.
Watching Community Calendar, brought to you by LA City View Channel 35 and the participating departments of the City of Los Angeles. You can watch Community Calendar weekdays Monday through Friday at 8 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m., and 11 p.m. Tune in to find out what the city is doing in your neighborhoods. From community festivals, parades, and neighborhood cleanups to official city meetings, public hearings, and other important activities that you want to know about. All announcements are for an advanced 2-week period. For city activities prior to this 2-week period, log on to www.lacity.org and follow the link to citywide calendar and agendas. If you are interested in a particular announcement and wish to receive more detailed information, call the phone number listed for the event or log on to the city's homepage at www.lacity.org. LA City View Channel 35 is pleased to bring this program to our viewers. If you missed any portion of this segment, please call 213-485-7561 for additional information. watching Community Calendar, brought to you by LA City View Channel 35 and the participating departments of the City of Los Angeles. You can watch Community Calendar weekdays Monday through Friday at 8 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m., and 11 p.m. Tune in to find out what the city is doing in your neighborhoods. From community festivals, parades, and neighborhood cleanups to official city meetings, public hearings, and other important activities that you want to know about. All announcements are for an advanced 2-week period. For city activities prior to this 2-week period, log on to www.lacity.org and follow the link to citywide calendar and agendas. Watching Community Calendar, brought to you by LA City View Channel 35 and the participating departments of the City of Los Angeles. You can watch Community Calendar weekdays Monday through Friday at 8 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m., and 11 p.m. Tune in to find out what the city is doing in your neighborhoods. From community festivals, parades, and neighborhood cleanups to official city meetings, public hearings, and other important activities that you want to know about. All announcements are for an advanced 2-week period. For city activities prior to this 2-week period, log on to www.lacity.org and follow the link to citywide calendar and agendas. If you are interested in a particular announcement and wish to receive more detailed information, call the phone number listed for the event or log on to the city's homepage at www.lacity.org. LA City View Channel 35 is pleased to bring this program to our viewers. If you've missed any portion of this segment, please call 213-485-7561 for additional information. Calendar, brought to you by LA City View Channel 35 and the participating departments of the City of Los Angeles. You can watch Community Calendar weekdays Monday through Friday at 8 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 5:30 p.m., and 11 p.m. Tune in to find out what the city is doing in your neighborhoods. From community festivals, parades, and neighborhood cleanups to official city meetings, public hearings, and other important activities that you want to know about. All announcements are for an advanced 2-week period. For city activities prior to this 2-week period, log on to www.lacity.org and follow the link to citywide calendar and agendas.
That we've worked with for the last 3 or 4 years, Fernando Pullum. He's the Director of Arts over at our View Park Prep High School, one that we're so proud of that is in the top 5% of the state as it relates to their academics. But what we have today is a young man that has been an educator in South Los Angeles for over 20 years.